Live from the Car Shield studio, this is the Opening Drive on 101 ESPN.
Good morning, everyone, and happy Monday. Brooke Grimsley here alongside Matthew Rocchio, Brady Kirker, and Dan McLaughlin with the day off today. But pinch hitting, we have stepping up to the plate right now, the voice for the Blues, Chris Kerber.
That's right. I'm Ivan Herrera. I'm going to come up and I'm going to strike out after a rain delay. That's what's going to happen.
No, Kerbs.
No, I'm going to bunt. No, I'm not going to do that either.
Oh, come on.
No, I'm going to work all my analytics and see how I can survive 3 hours of sports radio.
Oh, come on. That was CB Bucknor. that happened in that situation.
Yeah, it wasn't 3 for 13 with runners in scoring position leading up to that. It's the umpire's fault. Why in the world does Major League Baseball, like, are you kidding me? You made two teams wait
for 3
that long.
hours.
Now, okay, now you didn't know that it was going to take you all of 90 seconds to throw a few pitches and end the game. You know, Cardinals tie it up. Maybe it goes another 5 innings. Who knows? But at that point in time of the day and stuff like that, is there a reason you just don't continue the next day?
I guess you could. A lot of the balanced schedule has a lot to do with that I'm guessing, with how they're just trying to make games figured out. And they figured out a way to get it going.
Well,
Either way.
What I mean is, like, it would have been different if, say, that was getaway day.
Yeah.
They were playing the next day. Mm-hmm. Come on,
I don't
early
think they wanted
go.
to. I think they wanted to just get it done, and they wanted to leave it in the hands of CB Bucknor. But you're right, Curbs, because the thing is...
Leave it into the hands of the guy that actually could challenge Angel Hernandez for his strike zone
and
accuracy.
That's the thing, is that you shouldn't leave it in the hands of him. But that is just one of the many issues. By the way, if you didn't miss this weekend, which we already got a text this morning saying, are we going to address the elephant in the room right away and say it's time for a rebuild? Right now, Cardinals fans are rightfully rabid.
Okay, wait a minute. Say that again?
Can we please address the elephant in the room right away and say it's time for a rebuild?
What the hell do you think they're doing?
They're rebuilding right in front of our eyes.
Right in front of your eyes. They're yes. It's not time for a rebuild. They are rebuilding. They're in it. I don't know why like people need to realize this. Think of that. You're putting a bunch of young players in positions. You're calling guys up from the minors. You're revamping a pitching staff. And you're trying to get it going again after 2 decades of fantastic competitive baseball, watching Hall of Famers and stuff go. So whether or not the team has said it, I think you got to be smart enough as a sports fan to say they're in it. Right? They're in a rebuild. You know, nobody thought that this team was going to go from dead last to first in the division, did they?
I think the fan frustration, though, is that this management didn't see this coming back in June or July of last year when you could have traded Goldschmidt, and there were talks about Arenado wanting to go to the Dodgers, and could have helped you really jumpstart a rebuild.
Okay, wait, there were talks about Arenado wanting to go to the Dodgers. Anybody talk to Arenado and find out if he wanted to go to the Dodgers?
I mean, the guy was the Dodgers reporter for the LA Times. I don't think he's just throwing stuff against a wall and seeing what sticks.
You don't think that happens?
I don't think
that absolutely happens.
I don't think a lot of team beat reporters for reputable papers are out here just concocting stories.
No, I think they follow stories in a lot of cases.
So I'm just saying.
So you're saying where there's smoke, there might be fire. But either way,
wait a minute.
Okay,
I'm
just saying.
Guys,
they could have made these moves.
Play that through. You got to have some veteran presence on these teams, right? If you're going to bring up some younger players.
Those guys aren't leaders, though. We found that out in the offseason when they said Goldie and Arenado aren't leaders. That's why we got to bring in leaders. So you could have shipped those guys out, still brought in Matt Carpenter to be the leader. No. They told us he was the leader.
That's the one that made no sense to me.
Curbs. And here we are. We're in this position
right
with me
now. I'm telling you, we're in a rebuild. I just gave that texter his due. And anybody that didn't think that they're in some type of retool rebuild, however we want to call it, it's a rebuild.
And it's really bad, is what's happening right now, Curb. So just to recap this weekend.
It's better than last year so far. Well, actually, it's not over yet.
It's not over yet.
It's actually not over yet.
And that's the part here. But it feels like it's over yet because when you lose to the White Sox this weekend, you lose 2 out of 3. This is a team, by the way, that came in with just 6 wins coming into Busch Stadium, only 1 road win, and this is the result that happened. So Where do you go from here? Because right now, in every single category, statistically, when it comes to hitting, they are bottom of the league. 28th in batting average at 214, 29th in OPS at 624, 29th in slugging percentage at 330, tied for last in the league in home runs with the White Sox, who are just here. So, Ollie Marmol, what do you have to say about this group and what they can do moving forward?
You got to keep working. Bottom line. May not want to hear it, but that's all we can do is continue to work, continue to pay attention to the details pregame, and what they're doing down below in the cage has to carry out into the game sooner or later. But there is no answer to it other than work, and that's what's taking place right now. There's no good answer for it. I mean, we can sit here and talk about it all day. The reality is sometimes it carries over, sometimes it doesn't. Those guys are working hard at it. It's not carrying over into the game right now. We've had months like this before where it doesn't look very good, and then we come out of it. We need to come out of it. But, yeah, a day like today, a series like this one, you got to figure out a way to take this series. And we didn't. We didn't even give ourselves opportunities to do that today.
Okay, you know what Ollie Marmol needs?
What is that, Curbs?
Ollie Marmol needs a coach. Ollie Marmol, and maybe he has it. I haven't asked, okay? I don't believe that Ollie Marmol knows how to get his team out of it. And I'm not even thinking that it's his fault. Mm-hmm. He doesn't have the experience. Okay? So I think he says the right things. And everybody that I've talked to around the team, during the offseason, even this season, people that are around the team every day, there's a lot of respect for him. There's a lot of respect, it seems, from the players towards him.
They're very defensive of him.
There is a quality, there's something there. And I realize for a lot of fans out there, they're going to look at this and go, okay, you're the one that's put a little whiskey in your coffee this morning. All right? But no, like, when you're around a team on a regular basis and you understand it, you understand the relationship and the personality, and you can kind of see where it goes. That's where people know how this team's not responding to this manager, this coach, whatever. There is something there. However, I don't know that Ollie Marmol has the experience, may have ideas, but to get the team through this. So, if he's your manager for the next couple of years, that's clearly the case.
Because they signed him to an extension.
Well, unless that extension is just a balloon payment, to help him through, okay. But if he's the guy, then whether it be a consultant like a Tony La Russa, which I know he's with another team, but something like that, an experienced manager that he can really count on to help him through this. And I've thought this about in sports for a long time. Who coaches the coach? Right? Coaches seem to have all the answers. Now, I look at the way, certain teams run, and the successful ones, when you have some inexperience, is surrounding that inexperience with more experience. It's not a real experienced bench, right? I mean, in terms of your coaching staff. Look, you're trying to say, how come we're not in an era? Well, that best area had Tony La Russa with Dave Duncan. Okay, I mean, there's a lot of growth happening from a managing and a coaching standpoint, too. We saw that last year. We're seeing it again this year. And whether fans like it or not, that growth is going to be part of this process. But I don't see it turning around majorly. I don't hear the kind of things. Yeah.
And you don't see the results. The biggest thing is this is a results-based business. Whatever sport that it is, the record speaks for itself. And the way that they're performing right now, they're not doing that.
You just went 2-4 against the two worst teams in the AL Central. I mean, yeah, the results aren't there. And it's pretty easy. It's pretty easy, isn't it, to sit there and say, well, no, it'll come. We're getting some things on. It'll come. Well, when? Because it might, but you might be putting yourself again, and it'd be basically the third straight year of that. I mean, let's face it, a couple of years ago, if it's not for an 18-game win streak, right? You're in the same spot.
You are.
You're in the same
same
spot.
especially hitting wise.
Hence
And
the
look,
rebuild.
I will say that they did make the addition. Sonny Gray has been a spectacular addition to the starting rotation. That is a great thing. So if you're trying to counter the rebuild, you would say, okay, well, they signed Lance Lynn. They signed Kyle Gibson. They signed Sonny Gray. I did not expect this team, though, offensively to do what it has done this season, which is little to nothing, as we talked about, bottom the league in just about every single important category. And to me, I understand. I will 100% understand that the players need to execute at the end of the day. But when you have an entire lineup underperforming, not just your cornerstones in Paul Goldschmidt and Arenado, you also look at everybody else is down statistically. That is a big concern to me. And you have to start looking at something and need a major shakeup within the organization.
So what you have to ask? So you have to ask that question. Why is it? And if you don't have an answer, and the only thing I can come up with right now, if guys are putting in the work, as Ollie says, and that it just comes down to you just don't have the experience yet. You've got 2 proven track record guys throughout your lineup. That's it. 2 proven track record guys in Arenado and Goldschmidt. Contreras, yeah, I guess you could throw Contreras in there.
Well, he has a World Series championship under his belt.
You can throw Contreras in there. But okay, so let's say 3. Let's say 3. 3 proven track record guys. The rest is going to be inconsistent. Now, the big issue is, hey, those 3, Arenado's heating up. Okay, the power may be coming with the weather turning. Who knows? The average has been good. We'll have to wait and see, right?
Oh, when the weather gets hotter, the bats heat up.
But that's a lot. That's a lot of wait and see. And you got to ask your question: why in the heck don't some of these other teams have this problem? Well, it's pretty simple. Their players are better. Yes. That's it. That's sports. Their players are better, right? The Cardinals are in a pot. They go out. They settle the pitching issue down a little bit here. They've made some progress in that department. They've made some progress defensively. Now you got to get the offense part going, and that it takes some time. I don't have the fire. I don't have the angst. I don't have the stomach aches that people have, because if you really look at this reasonably, they're probably right where they should be.
Around a 500 team, but right now they're below 500.
That's a few games below 500. That all of a sudden one good series can turn that around. So you're right, but they're gonna hover right around 500 for quite a while. And it may be 3 games under, then it moves to even, 1 game over, back to 2 games under. But that's pretty much about where they're. And by the way, if they finished 500 this year, that's a successful season compared to last year. Unless you guys are trying to tell me that last year...
You're right. It'd be a 10-game improvement.
Yeah. Listen, unless you guys are trying to tell me...
Man, people out there aren't going to like that we just said that.
No, they're not, but, well, that's fine. And then that's the passion that people have. Look, unless somebody tells me that last year was the anomaly, right?
I think they believe that. I think that they believe that
last year was an anomaly?
I 100% believe that. Because then they made those additions during the offseason. Look at how expensive their starting rotation is. I understand maybe this team is really bad, but to the counter of the rebuild is that they did spend quite a bit of money, and they do have a lot of money tied up in their starting rotation.
But you
currently
had no chance, no matter what, if you didn't address the pitching.
And they did.
And they did. To an extent. Maybe not to the levels that some would have... Not to the levels that some would have liked. You see the microphone just go straight up? Yeah.
It'll pop on you.
These things have helium in it. Yeah. I'm still looking forward to going and watching them play the Boston Red Sox.
You're still going to go watch that?
Oh, I can't wait. Cards Red Sox have been one of my all-time favorite series. Cards and Dodgers was my all-time favorite series every single year, and then Cards Red Sox, when it happens, is the next one.
All right, we're being told that we have to go to a break here, but I do have something prepared for you a little bit later on. It's a Cardinals eulogy because, look, I may not be completely on board with it. This is a complete rebuild. Maybe we're going to start getting to that here in the future, but I think that we are starting to see the end of the Cardinals' way.
Okay.
Which is winning.
And so you wrote a eulogy?
I did.
Do we have music for it?
Nice. We got the whole shebang.
Like Undertaker or actual funeral music?
It's more of it's definitely more of a somber vibe.
Is it an Irish funeral?
No, it's a very somber vibe.
Oh, gotcha.
Just imagine somebody trudging down the side of a road, head down.
Gotcha.
There you go. All right, that's Chris Kerber, and I am Brooke Grimsley. Coming up next, we have our 3 things that we loved from the weekend. That's coming up next here on the Opening Drive. Welcome back to the Opening Drive. Radio voice for the Blues, Chris Kerber, is in studio today, and it's time for our 3 things that we love from the weekend. Curbs, how about you kick it off for us?
3 things. Do they have to be in order?
Number 3.
Oh, they do have to be in order. There was sound effects.
Look, Curbs, you go to the beat of your own drum here.
All right, number 3. I love Derby weekend. I love the Kentucky Derby.
Okay.
Right? I love the fact that it was a photo finish. And I mean, an amazing photo finish where it was one horse nostril to the next horse nostril to the next horse nostril. You know, one of the things that'll get lost, I forget, I think it was, what was the horse's name? Steel? Something Steel?
Just Steel,
yeah,
which
Just
is where
Steel.
my money was.
Okay, so Just Steel. So you were excited for about 2/3 or 3/4 of that
As soon
race.
as he was up early, I was like, well, there goes my bet. He ain't going to keep this going.
But the amazing thing was as long as that horse was towards the front, he ended up finishing, second to last, third to last in the end. But no, I thought it was a spectacular race. I love the drama. I love the pomp and circumstance. I took my daughters down to Churchill Downs earlier. We went to, because Gracie's at University of Louisville this year. So the week before Parents Weekend, we went down and took the girls to Churchill Downs. They were racing and taught them how to read the racing form and have some fun with that. So that was a good time. So the Kentucky Derby was number 3 for me. And I love the race. And I'll tell you what, with as tight as that race was, I don't know that you see a Triple Crown this year, because I definitely think, though, with as tight as that Kentucky Derby was, I'm more intrigued now on the Preakness, because I mean, it could be
You're taking
fascinating.
Sierra Leone for the Preakness, aren't you? That late kick, woo!
Yeah,
one more furlong, and Sierra Leone wins the Kentucky Derby.
One more furlong. He was coming big.
Do you like the fashion of the Kentucky Derby? Because that's what really intrigues me the most, outside of course the race, but looking what everybody wears.
Have you ever been down to it?
No,
Okay,
I've
so
never
I've been down to one. John Maroney, a good buddy of mine, just a great guy. He's big into horses. Runs a lot of Taco Bells in the area. John.
Oh, I love Taco.
Yeah, John's a great guy. John's always been big into horses. So in 2010, when the Blues made the playoffs in 2009, then they missed the playoffs again in 2010. And so John took me down to the Kentucky Derby. We had a great time. Stayed at a Holiday Inn, about $400 a night, 25 miles north. We parked at a VFW right across the street from Churchill Downs. We went to the Oaks the first day. And this is fantastic sports guy stuff. So he had seats for us about 5 rows off the track, halfway between the starting gate and the finish line. And we were like, this is fantastic. Well, we were like 2 people going to their first ever hockey game and sitting on glass seats. You could feel the rumble. You could smell the dirt. It was just fantastic.
That's cool.
And on top of that, he had passes to this private tent on the infield. So we had bathrooms without waiting in line. Like it was a great setup. So I had a great time. I think some of the hats get out of hand. Like when you've got to do Formula One neck exercises for 6 months leading up to the Derby just to be able to wear your hat in case the wind blows, I think the hats get a little bonkers, but it's fun. I love it. The mint juleps. I had some Old Forester mint julep. During that during the race. Yeah, it was fantastic. They actually they came out with like the mixed all together. So Old Forester sells the bottle because that's the official one. And so they created a great mix for it. I love it. So, nope, I'm all in. Horse racing 3 times a year. Well, I like horse racing more than just 3 times a year, but I love the Triple Crown run.
There you go.
Yep. I've been to the Belmont. I've been to the Derby. I have not been to the Preakness.
Is that next on the list?
That we will finish that one out, yeah.
Okay. My number 3 from this weekend. I guess I won't get the sounder. Do I get it?
Number 2.
Oh, I am so sorry. Apparently there's rules to this, Kurt.
I got to do all of them in a row?
No. Oh, sorry.
Well, that just said number
3.
Yeah, there we go.
Number 3. Thank you. Now I feel heard, Curbs.
Our sound effect guy is drunk.
So my number 3 is...
He can't count.
Look, I just really didn't want either team to win, but if I had to pick one evil over the other, I guess it would be the Dallas Stars. And so I was excited to see that the Golden Knights lost. I don't know why, Curbs. We were discussing this before the show. I just don't like the Golden Knights. Maybe it has a lot to do with, and I understand they're not the only team who took advantage of this loophole until the NHL addresses this, but I just didn't like that whole situation with Mark Stone, and you were able to add a lot of guys. I just do not like the Golden Knights for some reason, so I'm happy when they lose. And so that was my number 3 for the weekend.
Well, they're playing by the rules, sort of.
That's sort of.
I know the sort of is, but
Mark Stone just conveniently ready for round one.
I'm glad they lost. I'm happy to see them lose, all except for Barbashev. I was happy to see because he's still our guy.
Of course.
I was happy to see them lose because I don't like that formula winning. I don't like that formula being rewarded. And that formula has been rewarded 3 times with Stanley Cups. It's been rewarded with Patrick Kane. It's been rewarded with Nikita Kucherov. And now it's been rewarded with Mark Stone. Look, we know that Patrick Kane could have played in the regular season. We know that Nikita Kucherov could have played in the regular season. Last year, Mark Stone could have played in the regular season. Look, I'm not a doctor. I don't know whether or not you could play with an injured spleen. We should maybe call Eric Davis and ask him. And for those young enough, look up who Eric Davis was and how he injured his spleen making a diving catch in the outfield for the Cincinnati Reds. But so I don't know. I don't know, but I'll tell you that I'm glad Dallas won. I think Dallas was a better team. Mm-hmm. They were a better team throughout the regular season. I think this next series between Colorado and Dallas could be as good as the Stanley Cup final, if not better than what we're going to see this year. And honestly, Jim Nill, the general manager of the Dallas Stars, is one of the kindest, friendliest, real nice, good guys in sports. And I think he deserves some success there. So I love the fact that game turned out that way.
Number 2.
Okay, number 2. I'm going off the beaten path here on this one. Okay, I realized that the Formula One race was yesterday. Was on the 5th, not the 4th, not May the 4th for the Star Wars people. Okay, but having said that, if there was ever a time when a guy with the first name of Lando was going to win a race, it had to be on right after May 4th, right? Okay, so nice to see nice to see McLaren finally get a win. Nice to see Red Bull finally get beat. They do need a little more parity somewhere, and hopefully that starts to change with Formula One. So a little Formula One racing stuff for all the gearheads out there. But number 2 for me was Lando Norris getting his first ever Formula One win. I think that it's been a sport that's been dominated so much over the last, 10 years by Mercedes and Red Bull, that for McLaren to finally get up there and get a win, I think is fantastic. So I was rooting for some underdogs there.
Now, when we're talking about events that I want to go see, that is something I want to go see in person is Formula One.
Well, you know what? You stand in a corner. I've never been there. I've been to Talladega. I've been to I've been to 2 races in Talladega.
Did you wear jorts there?
I don't know that I've ever owned a pair of jorts.
Really? I mean this in the kindest way possible. I feel like you could pull off some jorts.
I had to wear parachute pants to school 3 years after they were out of date. So I was the only one that sounded like a zipper walking down the hallway in like 7th grade. Right? But that didn't help the old, confidence much. But nope, never wore jorts. But so 2 races at Talladega. Haven't been to an Indy, and I haven't been to a Formula One race. But the spectacle is spectacular. So I can't wait to see it.
So my number 2. Did you see this? Oh, now here we go. Sorry, I should have let you do it, Rocc, because I criticized you beforehand. So my number 2 is going to be. Did you see this last night? The roast of Tom Brady on Netflix. It was live.
I did not.
You missed it?
I did.
You have to go back and watch it. It was absolutely hilarious. They did roast him pretty well. A lot of jokes about Giselle, Deflategate, everything like that. Nikki Glazer, St. Louis's own, she absolutely killed it. I honestly think that she had some of the best jokes of the night. So that's my number 2, is that it was a really good roast. I think things like that need to happen more, honestly, especially on the sports side.
Roasts?
Yeah.
I think, oh my God, roast, comedy, everything. And I think everything's got to be back on the table. I think we got to throw political correctness out the window. I think we've got to throw thin skin out the window. And full-fledged, get-after-it humor has to absolutely make a return.
But feelings, Curbs. But people's feelings.
Right, and it starts with laughing at yourself.
Is that not what happened last night?
Exactly. Yeah, feelings were out the window.
Yeah, I hope so. No,
and it made it very entertaining.
Well, I roasted 2 roasts of Chaser.
Oh, I bet that was good.
It's the most stressed I've ever been in my life.
Really?
From a speaking standpoint. Oh, yeah. Like in a setting like this, we can find angles, we can crack jokes, the humor can come out. When you actually have to write it and try to be funny, and the one was a smaller group. It was for his 39th birthday. And then the next one, the alumni did it, and it was like 600 people in there. And Dave Coulier was there to roast some people and stuff like that. That's people that do the roasts, that write the stuff, and it's a terrific talent. I love them.
I think it's really entertaining.
Yeah.
All right, number 1.
Number 1.
Well, for me, and you already hit on the one, but for me, the number one on the weekend was the fact that we had 2 Game 7s. You know, you had Vegas and you had Dallas, but you also had Toronto and Boston. And that Toronto-Boston game was as good and enjoyable and entertaining a game, I think, as you're going to see. So part of me loves the fact, like, this is going to drive people, drove my household nuts. I got a father-in-law that's diehard Boston Bruins, right? Okay,
Really?
He's from, he lives in Western Massachusetts, and he's diehard Boston Bruins. Okay? My house obviously is clearly diehard Blues, and they want to see Boston lose every chance they get. But in this case, with Trent Frederick, with Pat Maroon, I didn't have to root against Joseph Woll in the third period. I love the St. Louis connection. We're going to get into that a little later on in the show, some of the St. Louis players in the NHL and where the Blues are on that. I just think it's awesome watching the city of Toronto just have an absolute meltdown with this hockey team, you know, and like it's if you think about it, it's been since 1967 that the Toronto Maple Leafs, the wealthiest organization in the game, has won a Stanley Cup.
That's crazy.
Could you imagine 50 plus years for the Yankees or the Dodgers went a long time. They went a long time. Then they needed COVID, right? But
I was going to say a little asterisk is put there.
They need a little help, but yeah. So for me, number one was the fact that there were 2 Game 7s, and one went to overtime. The other one went late in a 1-goal game. I thought it was fantastic.
And we'll discuss this later, but I'm interested to see what in the world happens with the Leafs moving forward, because you have to really start looking at things and maybe dismantling some things.
Well, it'll start with a press conference introducing Craig Berube as head coach. And then they will get even better.
Exactly. That's the personality.
That's actually not even fair. I don't think it's a coaching issue. I still think there's some. They're so top heavy that the Toronto Maple Leafs have got to become a better team. Right? They've got some great players. They've got to become a better team. The Dallas Stars, the Vegas Golden Knights are teams. Right? The Boston Bruins were a better team. And so even if Toronto got through them, I don't think Toronto was getting through Florida. Florida was just a better team, and you don't win sometimes with having the highest priced talent on your team. You win in during playoff time as a team, and you know what? And in fairness, they put together a hell of a series. The Toronto Maple Leafs put together a hell of a series, and they got edged out in 7 games in an overtime Game 7, but. They're not enough of a team. It's too far of a gap between their top and their bottom.
My number
one.
My number one from the weekend.
That's twice you tried to jump the sound effect guy.
I know, right? I'm cutting him off after I asked him to do that. Battlehawks and their dominant victory over the Houston Roughnecks. And more importantly, Curbs, the fan support that we're continuing to see from everybody going over to the Battle Dome. I was able to see just some of the fans that showed up. Also, the way that they're dressing up, I think that makes it even more exciting. I love looking at the costumes, everything that everybody's wearing. The tailgating scene is amazing. 32,969 people showed up this past weekend. They're consistently bringing fans to the Battle Dome, and they're undefeated at the Battle Dome, and they're now 5-1 on the season. So that is my number one thing from the weekend.
Is this about the product still, or is this still about flipping the middle finger to the NFL and Kroenke?
I think that it's a little bit of both, honestly, because you had the
fans
NFL.
And I haven't been to one yet. We got full disclosure. I haven't been to one yet.
Okay.
The people that I've talked to have loved the atmosphere of it, and that's what catches on. So I hope that it stays that way, and I hope it continues to shift less of the blank you and more of the let's go have fun to the game. And I that's what I think that's what I hope is happening.
I think it's a little bit of both, because honestly, you had the NFL, you had everything with Stan Kroenke, where they try to paint St. Louis as basically not a sports town, and the fans weren't supporting them, that the city wasn't supporting them, and that was very publicly put out there. So you have a lot of fans who are going out there to show, no, we are a sports town. You try to paint a different picture of us nationally, but you can't deny what's happening here locally. We have fans who will show up. So I think that's part of it. But then also, when you have a team that's actually performing this way, A.J. McCarron doing what he's doing, you have Butler who's performing where the offense is heating up. I think people are actually going out and enjoying the games now.
I think that's good.
It is good.
That was impressive that you ended that right as the music stopped. Like
was
that was
perfect
amazing.
timing.
Like that was and
It's almost like I
folks,
did that
there
on
were
purpose.
no hand signals or anything. Like Matt wasn't going. You got 10 seconds. You got 5. Like nobody counted you out. You just nailed it.
It's that clock. It's
That's
that
the
internal
old
clock.
TV person coming through on you.
Curbs, it's still to this day.
You got 2.5 minutes, and we just took one for the weather. Get it done.
Exactly. That's Curbs, and I'm Brooke. Coming up next, we talked a little bit about possibly Craig Berube landing in Toronto. What about the Blues? Who's going to be the next head coach of the Blues? We're going to talk about that next,
don't
coming
know
up
the answer to
here
that.
on the opening drive. Well, I'm going to get it out of you, Curbs.
Okay. All
That's
right.
next.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Cardinals dropped 2 of 3 to the White Sox over the weekend. They'll be back in action tonight, 6:45 game against the New York Mets for first pitch. It's going to be Sean Manaea for the Mets. He's 1-1 on the season with a 3.07 ERA. He faced off against Kyle Gibson for the Cardinals. Gibson on the season 2-2 with a 3.79 ERA. Also over the weekend, the St. Louis Battlehawks with a 22-8 victory over the Houston Roughnecks. And it was another draw for St. Louis City SC as they draw with Houston themselves with a 0-0 tie. That is your Sports Center update driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
Years of playing pro, you would have thought I was playing with a shovel out there. It looked like it there.
Well done,
Chief, that's enough, buddy. I'm going to break the news that you're the new Leafs head coach.
That is former Blues head coach Craig Berube on the TNT broadcast. Honestly, Curbs, I've enjoyed him a lot on those broadcasts. But I think we all know that he's going to be behind a bench soon. Now, where exactly is the question? Obviously, the Bruins beating the Leafs, and so now it calls into question if there will be a change there. Do you think that Craig Berube will end up in Toronto?
I think that Toronto has to make a change. I think that, frankly, I don't even... In all fairness, they've already made the change at general manager. So Brad Treliving is going to have a chance, I think, to make the coaching hire he wants to make. He was not the one that brought in Sheldon Keefe. I don't think Sheldon Keefe has been a bad coach. They just haven't been able to get out of the first round. And in all fairness, they've run into buzzsaws and really, really good teams. I mean, look, it's the 1-8 in the West was Dallas versus Vegas. A little bit different, matchups in the East, top to bottom, but it's hard to win, and it's a hard thing to get out of. So I believe Craig Berube's interviewed for the job in New Jersey. I believe that New Jersey, if you believe the reports you're reading, was looking to see if Pittsburgh would let Mike Sullivan go. I don't know how strong the rumors about had Boston lost, what happens with Jimmy Montgomery. After just 2 years, the fact that it would have been 2 3-1 series leads lost might have really pushed that one forward a little bit. But I believe Jimmy Montgomery is a really good coach. There is a coaching carousel here, Brooke. Mm-hmm. And I think, like, if you're the Doug Armstrongs, if you're the Fitzgeralds in New Jersey, I don't know why Kevin Adams jumped so quick to bring Lindy Ruff back to Buffalo. But I think the first domino to fall is wait to see what happens with Toronto. And I think a lot of these general managers are waiting to see if anybody becomes available out of the first round. What the league decides to do with Joe Quenneville becomes an intriguing one. If there's any team that could probably put pressure on the league to get them to reinstate Quenneville, it could be Toronto. But that first domino is going to fall. I mean, I think Craig Berube, one, doesn't have to write his own ticket because he's still under contract to the Blues and going to get paid, but can write his own ticket to one of those places, and everybody else has to wait and see. For example, now it doesn't look like Sullivan's going to become available in Pittsburgh. They fired Todd Reardon. Now, he's an intriguing assistant coach, by the way, for me. All right, but Todd, like, if Sullivan became available, mm-hmm. is he the kind of coach that you fire a coach for? You know what I'm asking? So, like, is there? Do you consider firing your head coach because you think you could land Craig Berube?
Kind of like almost like a Cubs situation, how nobody was expecting a coach firing there, but then with Craig Counsell, you have the ability to bring him in. You don't pass on that.
Although they should have seen that firing coming, but I mean,
it was out of the blue a little bit.
Yes,
just making a comparison.
But you're exactly right. You're exactly right. You're the Chicago Cubs. You can get Counsell in there. You know the job he's been doing with Milwaukee. Boom. Okay, so I still think that teams are waiting to see what happens if there's anybody that becomes available that you would have thought of or wouldn't have thought of through the first round here, and then the dominoes start to fall. And to me, I think the signing of Craig Berube, potentially if Quenneville is back in, mm-hmm. and what happens in Toronto starts that domino. And frankly, it's the first week of May, right? Unless your guy's out there that you know for sure, I don't think you need to rush it. So this one will be interesting. Now, what does that mean for the Blues? That's what everybody wants to know right now.
And that's the thing is, what does it mean for the Blues? Because you look at that list dwindling, which I know that you had the list already small to begin with, but Rod Brind'Amour, there was maybe some rumors that he wouldn't re-sign with the Canes. Now it looks like that's going to be a done deal. Now, I understand that until ink is put to paper, it's not completely a done deal, but it looks like it's a done deal.
Tom Dundon is the kind of owner that would screw that up.
You think so?
Yes.
It seems like he almost screwed it up, but it looks like Rod is pretty happy with how at least things are progressing. So that's something you could watch.
And I believe that came down to his assistant coaches. I believe that Rod Brind'Amour fights the good fight for people, and I think he wanted his assistant coaches elevated from a pay standpoint.
And then you bring up Jim Montgomery. To me, honestly, I thought that was the right decision. I was kind of rooting for the Bruins to lose, even though not a big Leafs fan. But I was kind of hoping the Bruins would lose because then that would make sense to open the door for Jim Montgomery to come here, Curbs. And now you're left in this situation where I don't want to say that Drew Bannister is the last resort. But honestly, if you were going to hire him, he would be hired by now because he would be the no-brainer decision in this situation. But the fact that you haven't hired him after he was your interim head coach, what does that say about what they're doing moving forward? Because where do you go now when it comes to this head coaching position?
Okay. I agree with you that if it was the no-brainer decision, then you probably have it done. But there's a couple things to keep in mind. One, Doug Armstrong has been out of the country. He was at the U18 Worlds for the men or the kids. I don't know. If it's under 18, I don't think we're calling them men. Are we calling them boys? I don't know what we're calling them. All right.
Young guys. Okay. Lads.
The under 18 guys, okay? If you Doug was out of town for there, he's going to be out of town for the World Championships. There's a small window if something's done before then, okay? He said something will clearly be done before the draft. I don't know if I anticipate something in this little window that he'll be in town before the World Championships start over in Europe again. But to me, the decision, we got to cut to a break here, comes down to this. Are you hiring the next coach to win a championship, or are you hiring the coach to get you through this retool? And sometimes those are not the same. Very rarely does the coach that leads you through the retool get to see it through, most notably and recently, McClellan with the LA Kings. Okay, and so it's a real challenging thing. Normally, if you bring in a coach that you win a cup with, you're bringing it in when you're ready to take that next step. I'm not sure they're ready to take the next step, and we can get into that a little later on in the program.
That's Curbs and Brooke. Coming up next, we have Take It or Leave It, so get your text into the Air Comfort Service text line. That is 314-399-9646, 314-399-YO-HO. Curbs, are you doing a Danny Mac on me where you're not participating in the yo-ho?
No, I'm not doing that.
Oh, do one yo-ho for me then.
A yo-ho? Is that like what you eat? Oh, those are yoo-hoos. No, that's what you drink.
That's a drink.
Yeah, no, it's not, yo-ho is 9646 on your telephone.
9646?
314-399-9646.
Okay, so what am I supposed to do?
So and then you say...
And then we say 314-399.
Yo-ho! Got it.
There you
Beautiful.
go. Thank you.
All right. Take It or Leave It is coming up next here on the Opening Drive.
All right, guys, Cardinals might not be very much fun to watch right now, so let's spice it up a little bit with our favorite plays on Underdog Fantasy and their Pick'em product, Pick'em Champions. It's just a Pick'em product that you can play right now in Missouri on your phone, on your desktop. You just pick 2 to 5 players from at least 2 different teams, select higher or lower on the player stat projections, choose your entry fee. You're going to be entering a game alongside other underdogs. Don't worry about all that. As long as you hit your entries, you're walking away with your winnings. Let's put together a small entry right now that you can build on later. This one's just going to be 6x your original entry. It's just 3 picks right now. So it's going to be Jalen Brunson, higher than 47.5 points, rebounds, and assists. He's been absolutely insane all playoffs. OG Anunoby, shout out to Jefferson City, higher than 24.5 points, rebounds, and assists. And Miles Turner, that's the center for the Indiana Pacers, going up against the Knicks tonight. He's going up against a tough front line in Robinson and Hartenstein. So we're going to go lower than 26.5 points, rebounds, and assists for Miles Turner. So higher on Brunson and Anunoby, the Knicks, and then lower on Miles Turner, the Pacer, for tonight. And if you want to add to that, here's the best way to do it. The Underdog is super easy to play and even easier to get started. Go to your the easy-to-use mobile app. Just download that, or go to UnderdogFantasy.com. Sign up with the promo code ROCC, and Underdog's going to give you a mystery special pick to use in your first pick'em entry and a deposit offer. So right there, you're going to take that 6x right now. You're going to add a 4th one. You're going to take it to 10x on your original entry, just like that, by signing up with Underdog. It's Underdog Fantasy, promo code ROCC, to claim your new customer special of a mystery special pick and your deposit offer. Must be 18 plus and present to stay when Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Consider your play on 100 game over. Visit www.ncbgambling.org.
$399-9646 and give us your take it or leave it.
Brought to you by Gloria Lou Realty. Visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com and start packing.
That's my final offer. Take it or leave it.
Welcome back to the opening drive. Chris Kerber, voice of the Blues, in studio with us today. And it is time for Take It or Leave It. Get your text into the Air Comfort Service text line. That is 314-399-9646, 314-399-YO-HO.
Yo-ho.
Nicely done, Kerb.
You know,
Sorry, I was a little slow on the uptake.
You're new, you're
we'll get
learning.
used to
I'm
this.
coachable.
You are very coachable, Curbs. We'll get you there. It was still beautiful nonetheless, so I appreciate the effort that you came in. No, that is a great drink, though. I haven't had one of those in a long time.
I haven't. Now, can you, wait a minute.
What are you thinking about?
It's not a ding dong. It's not a, it's a yoo-hoo. It's a,
yeah, it's a yoo-hoo.
What's the hostess?
Yeah, I think it is a ding dong.
I know it's a ding dong. It looks like a hockey puck, but there was the round one that had, it was like the rolled with the cream that it's called like a,
That's a ho-ho.
A ho-ho. That's what. Can you dip your ho-ho in your yoo-hoo?
No. Okay. All right. So my first take it.
Can you do that?
No, we're gonna leave that.
Have you ever dipped?
Leave it.
Curbs is a tomato right now.
Take it or leave it. Right now, you'd like to dip a ho-ho in some yoo-hoo.
No.
Also known as instant diabetes.
What's that?
Also known as instant diabetes.
I bet you that some people on the text line say, yeah, I'd like to do that.
No. Especially the way you're framing it.
What are you talking? Get your minds out of the gutter.
Oh, come
We're
on.
talking Hostess and chocolate milk.
Stop it.
Boy, for a Monday morning, you guys are dirty.
Oh, come on, Curbs.
What,
you know
no?
what you're doing over there. You know what you're doing over there.
I couldn't even remember the name of the Hostess cake.
Take it or leave it, Brooke. You got one?
Yeah, I have one. Take it or leave it.
Rocky was like, let's get off this.
So 6-game homestand. Obviously get off to a bad start against the White Sox. You stink it up against the Mets. Take it or leave it. There will be some sort of move or change made by the Cardinals organization. I'm looking at specifically maybe even a coach firing. And I'm not usually somebody who's going for that. And I'm looking specifically at your hitting coach. Sometimes there is a sacrificial lamb that happens in these situations. Curbs, you know it on the hockey side.
Listen,
we saw it with
If they
Craig
did not
Berube.
make Jeff Albert a couple years ago the sacrificial lamb, they're not going to do anything this year. No, I'm going to leave it. I believe that the Cardinals know, or at least they believe, that it's more roster than coaching. I believe it's a bit of both. I don't know that you have the experience you need, coaching wise. So I'm going to leave that though. I don't think they're going to. I don't think they're going to make that move because I just don't know that it'll make a difference.
You don't think so?
No. Do you?
New life? Well, here's the thing is that sometimes you have to do something to shake things up and to get people to understand, especially your players to understand, that there is some sense of urgency here because the patience approach is just not working anymore. And so you have to get some jolt from somewhere.
But Brooke, that shakeup then, if you're going to do that, let me make sure I make that clear. If you're going to do that, that shakeup is your manager. It's not a coach. It's not a coach. It's not changing an assistant coach. It's changing a process. If you're going to do what you're looking for, in my opinion, you're changing the manager.
They gave him a 2-year. And here's the thing is
that's why I don't think it's going to happen.
You start, and I'm not disagreeing with you in certain regards, but you start somewhere, and then you continue to go from there.
If you're going to, that to me, I don't think changing a hitting coach matters. I think it's on to the players to actually produce and go up there.
Of course, but when your whole lineup is not producing, then you have to start looking at what is the approach, what is the preparation that is going into these games because it's not translating on the field.
Look, if the umpire is CB Buckner, who you know is knocking on the door of Angel Hernandez, incompetency, okay, expand your strike zone a little bit. Okay? Mm-hmm. You've got 2 strikes on you. Let's go. Take all the analytics and flush it down the toilet. Okay? You've got 2 strikes on you. Every hitter in the history of baseball has known that when you're in the hole and you've got 2 strikes on you, you have to defend the plate a little bit. Okay? Yeah, it's a little bit outside. Got to try to put a bat on it, foul it off. All right? I think there's nothing worse than that situation than looking at strike 3. And even if it was a ball, you're nitpicking. Mm-hmm. Right? Go up there with an attack mentality. All right? And then, and then I'll go to this. You know the quote after that game that really fired me up?
Which
I
one?
hate quotes like this.
Which one, please?
It's when Ollie Marmol says, okay, I think it was Gorman that was at the plate when the rain delay hit, right? When he says, and I'm going to paraphrase, I'm not going to get it exactly, I'm going to get it close. He goes, well, they brought in this pitcher who's got a strikeout rate against lefties of 34%, right? Yeah? Okay. Right? That to me means then 66% of the time somebody's not striking out. Okay? So you got a manager that made the move to switch it over to that because of that, right? It drives me nuts. It didn't work. Had it worked, you look good. So again, you can't take certain managerial decisions and go over the top with any one of them. But I'll go back to what we said: take it or leave it. I'm leaving it. I don't think they make the change because if you're going to make that change and you're going to make that, then that change comes from the manager's side. That's the only option I see you have. That's a difference maker. Because you think if they had a different hitting coach option in the organization, that would be that different, he probably would have been here already. Or she.
They need one, is the thing, is that they do need one. I'm just saying that typically with the way that sometimes it goes is that it starts with one of those moves so that you could try to see if it jolts any sort of change. And then if it's still, you're not still getting any results, then you should be looking at the manager. No, without a doubt. This is a very disappointing season, and some moves have to be made. You have to shake things up because the message is not getting there. And you mentioned it earlier that the players do really like the coaching staff and they like Ole Marmol. They have said as much in their quotes even this weekend. But this isn't a friendship competition. This is a results-driven business.
It shouldn't surprise anybody. I don't have much more to add other than it. Messages like that come from the top. The top is your manager, and it rolls down. So, who's going to take it or leave it? Have you guys ever done just one, take it or leave it?
No.
There we go.
We try not to.
This is good.
We try not to. Curbs, you were just throwing the show all over the place.
Hey,
this
whoa.
morning.
I didn't start the Yoo-Hoo stuff. You guys tried to get me to sing, make like the Von Trapp family
And the
singers
next segment,
here.
we're going to talk about the Cardinals front office, so we might take some take it or leave it.
We are getting a lot of take it or leave it, specifically talking about the Cardinals. Coming up, we are going to talk a little bit more about the Cardinals, and obviously,
No, wait, I got to
things are
take it or
not
leave
bad.
it. We're
Okay.
doing the City SC. Can I throw that out next segment? Why not?
We're going to have to hit that at like 9 or 9:45.
Yeah, but people are driving.
Well, they'll be driving then, too.
All right, it's your show.
People are driving all the time, Curbs. We'll get some more tickets or leave it.
Remember, let us know if you've dunked your ho-ho into some Yoo-Hoo this morning.
Okay. All right. Coming up next, we're going to talk about should we be on the panic bus right now? Yes, I'm already on it, and we are driving away. That's coming up next here on the opening drive.
perspective on today's top stories. This is Fresh Take.
Presented by Lindenwood University. Real experience, real success.
Well, I think, the season began, tough road trips, but overall, I feel pretty good about where the club is.
He struck him out, and the White Sox win the game.
There's a lot of panic going on surrounding the Cardinals right now. That's what happens when you lose to one of the worst teams in baseball, Curbs, and that is the White Sox. The White Sox had just won 6 games coming into Busch Stadium this past weekend, and the Cardinals lost 2 out of 3 against them. Also, they only had 1 road win prior, and we keep hearing patience over and over again. Oli Marmol even talking about the only answer here is really patience with their offense. Right now, the Cardinals are in the bottom of the league in just about every single important batting category. You can look at everything: average, OPS, slugging percentage, 29th in slugging percentage, 29th in OPS, and the entire league. Also tied for last in the league in home runs with 23, and they're tied with the White Sox. Things are not going well right now, and it really all ties back to the offense. I know the Giovanni Gallegos blew up this weekend. There's a lot of other things that happened here. Steven Matz, his recent injury. But it all goes back to this team's inability to do anything offensively is a big, giant concern, because where's the light at the end of the tunnel here?
So go back to last season when you had more offense and you were saying, boy, it'd be nice if the pitching took some pressure off the offense. It's just the exact opposite right now, right?
Especially early on in the season, because the starting pitching
that
was
a reliever
imploding.
is going to have blow-up games. It's going to happen. What happened to Gallegos is going to happen, right? What's happened with Steven Matz, if you didn't expect it, I don't know what you were expecting. You're expecting something that you're not seeing, right? And this is where I was going all last hour with the Cardinal stuff. People are expecting things that aren't there. That aren't there yet. If you expected young hitters to come into the Cardinals organization, Victor Scott III, Mason Wynn, and you expect them to just go like Albert Pujols, there's a reason few do. Those are Hall of Fame. Those are rare talents. It takes time. 24 years old, 25 years old, 26 years old, then you really start to go. So, panic time, I guess, if you expected, a whole lot different. But I will say, I know everybody's bent out of shape because you lost 2 of 3 to the Chicago White Sox, but I just called 3 hockey games this year where the Blues lost 3 times to San Jose. So, right? You lost 3 times. You lost 3 times to San Jose, right? You lost to the Chicago Blackhawks, twice to the Columbus Blue Jackets. And I know for a fact that the Blues are better than those teams. So this happens. What should concern you, Brooke, in my opinion, is when you look at the last 2 series. All right. You had a chance to sweep the Mets. You didn't. You lose in a walk-off fashion there. All right. Then you go 1-2 at Detroit. Okay. All right. End of a road trip. It's more the trend, and the inability to get back out of it. Now, is that mental toughness? Is that experience of a younger lineup? Is it an experience from a managing standpoint? I think it's all of it. I really do think it's all of it. And that's why it's just not as simple as just one change making a difference.
I have something prepared for you, Chris Kerber. I teased this early. Oh, this is my eulogy.
I've been waiting for this.
Are you ready for this?
Yeah, let's go.
So I have this on my phone prepared. Are we ready? Cue the music. Dearly beloved Cardinals fans, we gather here today to mourn the loss of the Cardinals way. Here lies the patience approach, which is finally caught up to the Cardinals. We've heard patience being preached over the last few years, and the results have continued to decline and speak for themselves. At some point, you have to be proactive rather than reactive. Did they sign 3 pitchers this offseason? Why, yes, they did. Sonny Gray has been as advertised so far, and we can't judge the full staff until the end of the season. But of course, we cannot cast judgment on the pitching when the hitting is at the root of this all. The lack of clutch hitting is really a problem, or any good hitting. It's undeniable at this point. Few additions were made to this coaching staff to help supplement the development issues at the big league level over the years, and now we are left in this position. Losing 2 out of 3 to the White Sox, a team that had just 6 wins prior to coming into Busch Stadium and just 1 win on the road. It's inexcusable. Let this be a lesson to all of us moving forward. Practicing patience is not the answer here. It's time to invoke change. There's no day like the present to move in the right direction to a better future and back to the Cardinal way.
Yes. That was beautiful, Brooke. That was beautiful.
Are those tears in your eyes, Curbs?
Yeah, it's because we're mourning the Cardinals.
I think I'm holding back a sneeze.
I'm mourning the Cardinals as a serious I'm mourning the Cardinals as a serious baseball club over here, Brooke. It breaks my heart.
We are bearing the patience approach. It's basically where I'm going
it's like
here.
losing my favorite uncle.
What's the Cardinal way?
The Cardinal way is winning. Lance Lynn said that this offseason, that the Cardinal way is just simply winning. And they do not have the ability to do that right now.
Nope.
This offense is not producing any runs. And the pitching, to your point about last season, starting pitching imploded early last year, and it just really snowballed from there. This year, the pitchers are giving you a chance. They really are. But at this point, there's only so much you can do because they didn't build the starting rotation to be all Cy Young winners. There's one Cy Young in that starting rotation. You have a bunch of guys who really are not producing offensively, and at some point, there has to be change made. And I think it should come sooner rather than later before it just continues to snowball like last season, where you're just looking at it and saying, why didn't we do something sooner?
Look, Ollie's right when he says that it's just work that gets you through it. It's what you do in the cage. It's taking what you're doing from the cage and bringing it to the plate. There's clearly something else missing in that process. Okay, so that is where a manager has to help fill that gap. That's where a manager has to try to change things up. And it's not change it up by putting guys in different orders in the lineup. It's not change it. This is not a where a guy's hitting issue. This is an approach at the plate issue. And the Cardinals, they've morphed into one of those teams where if the ball's not leaving the park, you're not scoring runs. Right? And they just don't have enough guys to get the ball to leave the park and enough consistency. And by the way, if that's really your predominantly way of scoring runs, I don't know that you win consistently come playoff time. Right? Because come playoff time, pitching will always beat hitting. So they have an organizational issue right now, and it's finding consistency. And typically when you see a lot of consistency issues, those consistency issues eventually relate to coaching or managing. Fair or not, whether they like the guy or not, that's where it happens. That's where it starts. Or you're accepting of this. If you're John Mozeliak, you expected some of this, and you're just wading through it. And I get it. It's frustrating as a fan. But there's only one way. Like, you can't have it both ways. There's only one way that the fans, that you're going to get some of those young guys the experience to grow into the players they need to grow into. Well, you got to get in there and fail.
Exactly. And right now, they're failing, Curbs. And there has to be some sort of change. That's Chris Kerber, and I'm Brooke Grimsley. Coming up next, could an NFL team return to St. Louis? We're going to talk about that next here on The Opening Drive.
It's time for a DraftKings at Casino Queen Redbird report on 101 ESPN.
Brooke Grimsley here for your Redbird report. The Cardinals' 6-game homestand getting off to a bad start after losing 2 out of 3 against the White Sox this weekend, a team that had just 6 wins coming into the weekend and just 1 win on the road. They are now 4 games under 500. Yesterday in the 5-1 loss, the only run for the Cardinals came on a home run from Wilson Contreras leading off the 4th inning. Matthew Liberatore got the start in the bullpen game and gave up 1 run in 3 2/3 innings of work. Kyle Leahy retired all 7 hitters he faced, keeping it a 1-1 game through the 6th inning, but Giovanni Gallegos took over in the 7th and allowed a home run and 2 doubles to 3 hitters he faced. The homestand continues tonight with the first of the 3 games against the Mets. First pitch is at 6:45 with Kyle Gibson on the mound.
The Redbird Report is presented by DraftKings at Casino Queen. Play, stay, dine at DraftKings at Casino Queen.
Okay, this past weekend, and actually for the last few weekends, and maybe even this next one coming up, it's prom time. You got your sons, your daughters, you know what prom? This happened to somebody I know this weekend. They were at a volleyball tournament, and they had to go home, and they were getting ready. Their air conditioner had gone out, so their daughter had to get ready for prom with the air conditioner out. What do you do when that happens? This is easy. You get on the horn and you call Classic Air Care. They're going to get over to your house as quickly as they can. They've got a 4.8 Google rating when you read the reviews. At the top of their website, classicaircare.com, it says, read our reviews. Click on it. Listen and read the experiences that people are having, the great experiences with Classic Air Care. Listen, guys, this is simple. The air conditioner's not working. You need somebody to fix it. They come to your house. They fix it. If you need a new unit, they put one in for you. It's classicaircare.com. It isn't sexy. It's effective, and it keeps your house cool, and it keeps it better to live in. It's really that simple. Book an appointment online. If you need service at classicaircare.com, you can call them at 742-8098. That's a 314 area code. Or go online at classicaircare.com and get your unit service today.
Floats it down the sideline. Jump ball! And Hakeem Butler. 10 stepping up and throwing deep. He's got Butler open at the 20. Leaping high and out of bounds. McCarron looking. Throws the fade. Jump in the corner. Mitchell has it. Touchdown. Here's McCarron on first down again. Going up top for Butler. Hakeem Butler may have just salted it away for the Battlehawks.
Welcome back to the opening drive. Battlehawks with a dominant victory over the Houston Roughnecks this weekend. They are now 5-1 on the season and undefeated in the Battle Dome. And now the national media is starting to take notice of the Battlehawks and the fans in attendance. Over 32,000 in attendance this weekend, and they're consistently bringing in 30,000 plus over to the Battle Dome. Back for Mike Florio, from Pro Football Talk. He has a whole article that he put out this weekend, Curbs, about this. And he even posed a question of if St. Louis should have another NFL team. So I'm going to ask this for everybody. Say theoretically that this did happen, would you welcome back an NFL team here to St. Louis?
I think most people would. I think they'll go. Should the NFL come back to St. Louis? Yes. Was it St. Louis's fault that they lost a team? No. Will they? I think if the NFL decides to expand in the United States, I think, honestly, I get the feeling that expansion for the National Football League is going to come via Europe first, just to, gut read, whatever, just an opinion on that one. But eventually the almighty dollar talks. This is traditionally an extremely strong television market when it comes to sports. Mm-hmm. It's an extremely strong supportive market when it comes to fans. They know it. The NFL knows that it was not a city issue, that failed the team, right? They knew that the moment that Stan Kroenke took over, he was moving to Los Angeles no matter what, and he was going to put everything in place that he needed to make sure that happened. So do I think the NFL would come back to St. Louis? Absolutely. Does St. Louis need the NFL? No. That's a totally different question. You know, I think what you've got with the franchise and the sports here, I think you're all set there. Having said that, I saw over the weekend, somebody had posted, and I saw, again, the picture of, the stadium drawings that they were hoping to get done through that process down on the riverfront. And I did think, man, that really would be cool to see that.
I've seen that. It looks really nice.
It really would be neat. Would I welcome the NFL? Like, I got to be honest with you. I'm not sure I've watched a full half of football since the Rams left. A full half of the NFL in one sitting. And the simple reason is I quit caring. You know, I think the lack of integrity. No, am I still a football fan? Yeah. Will I watch? Yeah, but I haven't made the time on Sunday to sit and watch. If it just happens to be there, that's fine. You know, if I'm sitting at a bar and I'm on the road and it's on, that's fine. But I'm an outlier probably on that one. And yet, again, if the NFL came back, I understand sports. I understand the business. If it's our team, I'll support it and go. Would love to go.
I would go too. And here's the thing that I can see it helping the area as well, especially downtown. If you're able to add that in there, there's a lot of benefits that would really help downtown and helping it continue to grow. But I also understand the other side of it is everything that happened with Kroenke and the way that was handled and how the NFL allowed that to happen in that manner. I don't know if I would exactly trust the NFL to come back here into St. Louis.
No, you wouldn't trust them at all. You wouldn't trust them at all, but you'd still take the team because of what it means and what it does for your city.
But here's the thing: not trusting the NFL. Someone said, "Well, hey, if it's local ownership and it's an expansion team, you're not taking somebody else's team." I would love it. Here's the problem: tell that to the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are getting like 2 of their home games taken every year to go play in Europe. And
that's their choice.
Now you're not getting 9 home games; you're getting 7. Is it because
you can't compare those two because this is a totally different market.
Is it though?
Than Jacksonville?
It's not. It's slowly becoming Jacksonville. Every year the market comes out and St. Louis is 1 or 2 down lower than it was. Charlotte passed us.
Yeah, but to Brooks' point, what she was saying about what it would mean for downtown St. Louis. See, I don't buy that.
I don't buy it.
I think
you don't buy that?
No,
really?
No.
Every study says that stadiums don't actually impact metro areas.
Here's
that
how
much.
You could prove to me that would happen. Create the corridor from City Park through Enterprise Center down to Busch Stadium. You create something along Market. You get some growth there. There's no place right now for to put bars and like a ballpark village type thing. Not even a full ballpark village, but just more gathering places. It's one of the struggles the Blues have. Where do you gather as fans before a Blues game, before the gates open? Right? Okay.
I don't know.
You're going to have that's where the city has to find ways to get people to do it, and so no, I don't think a football stadium and stuff's going to cause a revitalization of certain things. I think stronger leadership of our city can do that without a football team. That's a totally separate topic altogether. Here's a broader question for it, because that's when does a league become too big? Now, and now
ask the NHL.
I mean, well, ask the NHL, ask the NBA, ask Major League Baseball, and ask the NFL. When you only have one champion, which really defines what the word champion is. When you only have one champion, okay, and every time a league expands, you make it that much more difficult for somebody to win it. Now, I realize the goal is revenue, the goal is money, and the goal is all this stuff. At some point in time, are you sitting there with interest in a 40-team league?
I think the interest will always be there because it's in the NFL. But I think the biggest part of this is that, one, I would like to have a team back here in St. Louis. I think that would be great to have another NFL team. I'm a huge NFL fan, but it's hard for me to really forget about everything that happened in that whole situation with Kroenke. It's hard to believe them. Also,
if the team came, if they said tomorrow, St. Louis is being awarded an expansion team, You'll go, you'll support them, you'll do everything you did before, right? And you'll move past it.
And that's the point that Florio is making, is that there's so many fans who are attending games over to watch the Battlehawks. The fan support is there. Kroenke tried to paint this picture that the fan support was not there. They weren't supportive. And these fans continue to show that they will support any sporting event. We've seen that. You've seen that. Every single sporting event that comes to town, big numbers, even historic numbers in different categories. No matter what it is. Yeah.
Look at the crowds that went out to watch the college hockey at Centene. You know, and the Frozen Four next year is going to be massive. Boy, especially if Jimmy Snuggerud can get Minnesota into
It's at no point is this about actual interest in St. Louis. Of course, everyone wants the NFL.
It's never been.
And the people here, we got people texting in I don't know, I've been enjoying not watching the NFL on Sundays. First of all, you're either lying or you are in the minority. One of the two, because
I'm not lying, and then I'm in the minority.
Yes, because I guarantee you the majority of people in St. Louis are still watching a lot of NFL football.
Wait, did you
Sunday.
say enjoy? No, I've just found other things to take up that time.
And I think there's a lot of people who have done that. I still think the majority of people in St. Louis are watching the NFL on Sunday.
You can't deny the behemoth that is the league. You can't deny the fan base that still exists here. You can't deny the impact of the betting and fantasy football and everything that's involved. And that's why.
And it's growing.
Well, it's going to continue to grow. The Rams leaving had nothing to do with St. Louis.
It didn't. It had nothing to do with it. Kroenke wanted to move, and he's greedy, and that's the big point of it.
That's it.
That is the big point of it.
That's it.
Also, I'm not paying for a stadium. Buck up yourself there, billionaires.
And we had a text from the 3 and 4 that pointed out, if it is Taylor-owned, then everyone would be on board. The Taylor family has done so much for St. Louis.
Then just about everybody will be on board.
You can't ask more from the Taylor family. Let's find a different family.
They have asked a lot.
Right.
But I think to the person's point, they're saying that if it was somebody who stepped up locally that is in charge of this, that cares about St. Louis, has proven that they cared about St. Louis, and that they're not going to have any other nefarious reasons behind this, that fans would be even more so on board.
What if it was a Saudi owner?
Oh, Curbs, you were stirring the pot there.
So let me ask you this. Okay, if you think of the Premier League soccer teams and how things are going and whatever, and if you look at Live Golf and everything that's gone on, okay, what if the NFL, in all its greed, which fits the NFL, by the way, because we said with all its greed, decided to allow a Saudi ownership to put a franchise in St. Louis? Does the ownership matter, or is it the fact that the teams here is good? I think in the end,
I think it does matter a little bit.
I think in the end, the fans are coming out no matter what if they got a team.
I think it matters a little bit of who it is specifically.
It might matter a little bit to some, but it's not going to matter enough to the masses to prevent the crowds from showing up.
Especially if it's good. If it's a good team and you build a good stadium.
That's the key.
They will come. That's typically how it goes. Well, coming up next.
Wait, are you saying if they build it, they will come?
Yes.
Here we go.
Oh. They should put that in a movie.
I feel like you would be amazed. I thought of that on my own, Curbs. I just thought of that on my own.
We got to call some Hollywood producers. We got something. We're on to something.
We're working
Monday morning,
on something
we're on
here.
to something.
Speaking of rocking, right now we have the fight coming up, and Chris Kerber. I was going to do the fight, but Chris Kerber is on a roll this morning. If you haven't been listening, and he really wants to do the fight. So
you were not going to do the fight. You looked at me with Curbs. You're going to do it?
No, I said I did not. I said
one foot out the door.
I had no foot out the door. I will step up and do the fight right now. You said you really wanted to do it, so I will let you step up to the plate once again because you're pinch hitting today. So if you want to fight Curbs on the fight, text in to the Air Comfort Service text line. That is 314-399-9646, 314-399 Yo-ho. The fight is coming up next.
There it is. This is Rocky with your Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The Cardinals disappointing St. Louis as they fall 2 out of 3 times to White Sox over the weekend. They'll try to get back in the win column as they host the New York Mets. Starting a 3-game series tonight, 6:45 first pitch. It'll be Sean Manaea, the lefty for the Mets, facing off against Kyle Gibson for your Cardinals. The Cardinals 2-2 on this, Gibson on the season, 2-2 with a 3.79 ERA. Over the weekend, your Battlehawks a 22-8 win over the Houston Roughnecks, while St. Louis City SC tied 0-0 with Houston Dynamo on Saturday night. Also in the NBA playoffs, Mavericks move on over the Clippers. Cavaliers finish off the Magic, and the Timberwolves is a shocking round 2 game 1 win over the Nuggets, 106-99. That is your Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an independent American State heating and air conditioning dealer.
It is time for the fight, and there is no Mega Mind rated character today. Danny Mac is out today. He'll be back tomorrow. So it was going to be me, but Chris Kerber, he is fired up today, and he really wants to do the fight. So it is Curbs who is stepping up to the fight today, and our fighter going against him is Carl. Carl, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you, Brooke?
I'm doing well. Are you excited to take on Curbs today? I don't know if you've heard him today. He is on a roll this morning.
Well, I think he's probably the only person that I have not lost to on the fight. So.
Oh,
yeah,
all right, Carl.
The best of it.
All right, I like it. Are you ready for question number 1?
I am.
Since 16 wins became necessary to win the Stanley Cup, which team is the only franchise to lose only 2 games in the entire postseason? Is it the Kings, the Red Wings, or the Oilers?
I'll say the Red Wings. They were pretty darn good back in the day.
Yeah, that's a good guess. Happy 93rd birthday to the legend, Willie Mays. Mays played his first 21 years of his career with the Giants, but played his final 2 years with which other National League team? Was it the Mets, the Phillies, or the Senators?
I think that was the Mets, if I'm not mistaken.
Question 3.
Yeah,
oh, sorry.
I'll go with the Mets. Sorry about that.
No, I should have asked you if it was your final guess. Okay, question 3.
Yeah.
Which NL Central team was the first to ever have a night game in Major League Baseball history? Was it the Reds, the Cardinals, or the Cubs?
I think that was the Cubbies. Final answer.
All right, since the mid-'70s, the Lakers have had the last 3 career NBA scoring leaders play for them in Wilt, Kareem, and LeBron. But none of those 3 are the Lakers' all-time leading scorer. Who is? Is it Jerry West, Elgin Baylor, or Kobe Bryant?
Man, I want to say it was Jerry West, but boy, Kobe scored a lot of points. I'll say Kobe Bryant.
All right, well, then I'll take the score and bring in Chris Kerber.
Carl, how are you feeling?
I don't know.
Just kind of,
Yeah. Not a couple guesses in there, so.
You never know. Oh, here comes Curbs, ready to go, stepping up to the mic right now.
Oh, the play-by-play walking.
And he's putting on his headphones and is adjusting his mic right over to his mouth.
Is this when I tell Rockio that I think I'm glad that it's time for LeBron to retire?
No,
this is not that segment yet. We gotta get to Chip.
We're gonna run out of show here. We got to be on time for Chip. All right, fire.
Okay.
Let's see how dumb I am today.
First, say hi to Carl.
Hi, Carl.
Chris, how you doing?
I'm doing. Is that Carl with a C or Carl with a K?
It's with a C.
Nice. Okay, Carl with a C.
Very important there. All right, you ready for question 1, Curbs?
Yes.
All right. By the way, is it Curbs with a C or a K? I'm joking here.
Okay.
Good to know.
Well, Bobby Plager had it in his phone with a C, so I thought that was awesome.
All right, it's question 1. Since 16 wins became necessary to win the Stanley Cup, which team is the only franchise to lose only 2 games in the entire postseason?
Which team is to lose only 2 games in the entire postseason?
Mm-hmm.
They went 16-2. Okay. I want to say off the top of my head, the Tampa Bay Lightning seem to jump in here. All right, I'm going to go with the Tampa Bay Lightning. I'm going off the top of my head.
All right, happy 93rd birthday to the legend Willie Mays. Mays played the first 21 years of his career with the Giants, but played his final 2 years with which other NL team?
Hey, it's the 79th birthday for Bob Seger today, too.
Oh, there's another good one.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good birthdays
Roll
today.
Me Away, I think, is one of the great anthems. I love that song.
A lot of birthdays today.
Yeah. Who did Willie Mays finish his career with?
Yep. Could have just said that.
Could have just said that. You're a writer. I'm a broadcaster. Two different things. I'm trying to do this full Randy Carrick or no options, huh?
You can. You
options
can,
on
you
one
can get
question.
options.
I get options on one?
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
give me the options on this one.
All right. Is it the Mets, the Phillies, or the Senators?
I'm going to go with the Mets. And I'm totally guessing.
Final answer?
But yeah.
Too late now. Which NL Central team was the first to ever have a night game in Major League Baseball history?
Oh, that's the Cincinnati Reds.
Confident about that one.
Crosley Field, I think,
Since
right?
the mid-'70s, the Lakers have had the last 3 career NBA scoring leaders play for them: Wilt, Kareem, and LeBron. But none of those 3 are the Lakers' all-time scoring leader. Who is?
The Lakers' all-time scoring leader?
Yes, sir.
Did you throw this in there because I ticked you off this morning?
Actually, no. I changed number 1 because you were doing the fight. I didn't change number 4. It just happened to be there.
All right. The Lakers' all-time leading scorer. And it's not who?
It's not Wilt, Kareem, or LeBron. Who is the Lakers' career all-time leading scorer? Just the franchise.
Is it too simple to say Kobe? I mean, I'm also thinking the guy with the goggles.
That was Kareem, who I told you.
No, not Kareem. The other guy.
Oh, okay.
I'll know his name if I heard it. Yeah, what the hell? I'll say Kobe. I don't know. Kobe.
All right. We have a winner in today's fight. Does Carl take down Chris Kerber?
I'm pulling for you, Carl.
Or he said that you're the only person he hasn't lost to in the fight. So does he break that streak, and does Kerbs going to win in the fight? Ring that bell.
The winner and still champion of the fight, Randy Carricker.
The fight is presented by Golf Discount of St. Louis, with the most experienced
Kerbs,
club fitters in
believe in
town.
yourself a
Why
little
shop
bit.
anywhere else?
I'm sorry, Carl. Kerbs beat you 3-2 today. Your streak continues.
That's brutal. 0-4. 0-4.
With a bunch of different people, let's get these answers out here really quickly. We got to get to Mr. Carey. Since the 16 wins became necessary to win the Stanley Cup, it's the 88 Oilers are the only team to go 16-2. The Kings, by the way, when they did win, went 16-3. Or 16-4. Excuse me, 16-4. Willie Mays played his first 21 years with the Giants when he went back to New York to play for the Mets his last 2 years. It is, in fact, the Reds, the first team in Major League Baseball history to ever play a night game. Cubs were the last one, actually, because it took them forever to get lights in there. And since the 1970s, they've had Wilt, Kareem, and LeBron, all of the last 3 NBA all-time career scoring leaders, but the Lakers' all-time scoring leader, it isn't too easy. It's the correct answer. Kobe Bryant with 33,000 points. Chris Kerber gets a 3-2 win in the fight. Congratulations, Kerbs.
Thank you, sir.
All right, and that is the fight. Coming up next, we are going to head to the celebrity line to talk to our friend of the show, Cardinals TV voice. That is Chip Caray. He's coming up next here on the opening drive. Hey everyone, it's Brooke here, and I want to tell you why I love the Missouri Athletic Club. One, it feels like I'm really joining a community. I've started doing personal fitness classes. I work out with my personal trainer, Christine, twice a week, and she has been amazing on my fitness journey. I've always been pretty much healthy, and I've always enjoyed to work out, but she's really pushed me physically, and now I'm starting to see those results. Also, because of the Missouri Athletic Club, I'm finally getting back into the sport that I played in my entire life, and that is tennis. I've been hitting with Scott, and he's just been amazing, helping me get back to my fundamentals. There's always so much going on. I like to make a full day of it, Curbs. I will go over there, maybe hit some tennis balls, and then have a buffalo chicken wrap over at their grill afterwards. It's so good, and it's just fun and exciting. They always provide a wonderful experience, and that's why I love my MAC.
One, two, three, four.
Welcome back to the opening drive, and we head to our celebrity line now to talk to the voice of the Cardinals for Bally Sports Midwest, and that is Chip Caray. Chip, how are you doing? I noticed that you had the weekend off, of course, as the Cardinals played the White Sox, but you really weren't away. You were in the stands watching the games this weekend, right?
I was there. I wouldn't miss it for anything.
And what did you observe? What was your biggest takeaway from this series against the White Sox?
We need to hit better, a lot better. It was frustrating. I think that's the best word I can use to describe this series. Disappointing, frustrating. The terms unacceptable have been used. It's not anything that any of us who follow this team thought would have taken place. With all respect to the White Sox, which is a major league team, you figured the Cardinals needed to win that series, if not sweep it. They didn't. And now they find themselves a season low, 4 games below 500, and still scratching their heads as to how to get out of this team-wide offensive funk that they're in. And if there was a magic wand to be waved, I think we would all furiously be waving it in Cardinal Nation. Unfortunately, baseball and sports don't work that way. They've got to figure it out and get after it tonight against a Mets team that's coming to town hungry.
Chip, it's Curbs. How are you, sir?
Hey, Curbs, what's going on, buddy?
Enjoying the morning here with Brooke and the show. When your experience and all the teams and games you've called, when you have seen teams slide into a hitting funk or begin the season, so I don't know that they've slid into a hitting funk. They've been in one since the start of the year. What types of approaches need to change or tweaks do managers do to help get an entire team through something like this? Like, what are all these options?
Yeah, well, that's a great point. I mean, I'm sure you follow it the same way in hockey, right? When a line's not scoring, you shift personnel, you do line changes, you try to shift personnel and get guys in different spots and different positions and different people to maybe have a different look. Ali's trying that. For fans who think, well, we need to just blow up this roster or go to Memphis or Springfield and bring guys up, those places aren't the places where answers are going to be found. They're going to be found in the locker room at 700 Clark Street. The guys in that room are very, very capable and very, very talented hitters that just aren't hitting right now. Ali, after the game last night, did a fan event with me and Mo, and one of the things he said, and it might be true, is maybe guys are trying too hard. They're trying to get 5 hits or hit a 5-run homer with every at-bat, which leads to the answer to your first question. I would really like to see a better two-strike approach from this team. The launch angle and the lack of power that we've all talked about is certainly something that will change and needs to change if the Cards are to be very successful. But simply putting the ball in play and getting the pitch that they want to hit instead of being so anxious that they want to jump out and hit the ball before it gets to them. Let the ball travel, put the ball in play, hit it the other way, and I think some of that offensive pressure will dissipate. A lot easier said than done. Look, I never played Major League Baseball. The farther you are away from the field, the easier it is to perform. And the way guys throw and as hard as they throw, I truly believe it's a miracle anyone ever gets a hit, and that's meant with no sarcasm whatsoever toward our current hitting malaise. But I think a two-strike approach and trusting in their talent and their instincts and recognizing pitches will go a long way toward a team-wide breakout, I think.
So, Chip, what do you think that the approach is now here moving forward? Because as we just talked about, the fans, of course, are very upset, and you can't make moves just based on fans' feelings. But at this point, I feel like there's just a lot of disappointment surrounding this team, specifically the hitting that we were just talking about there. Is there anything you can do? We've seen Ali Ramal moving the lineup. He's shaking things up there. You also have called guys up. You sent guys down. So what can they do moving forward? Is patience the right answer here? Because I don't think that's anything that anybody wants to hear anymore.
No, nobody wants to hear that, but that's unfortunately where we are, right? Clint Hurdle, manager of the Rockies, said it takes courage to have patience, especially when things aren't going the way that you want or the way that you expected. And he really is right. I think that everybody in Cardinal Nation has a great deal of trust in Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Arenado, Wilson Contreras, Lars Nootbaar, Brendan Donovan, Nolan Gorman. If those guys all start hitting, or at least hitting closer to what we expected them to be, I don't think we're really having this conversation. But the fact of the matter is, it is an offensive malaise that is top to bottom in the lineup. And, you're not going to be able to change out 7 guys on your roster. And if you think about going to the minor leagues, as I said earlier, and bringing someone up, well, the last thing you want is to bring someone up who's not quite ready and then have to send them back. Exhibit A, Victor Scott II, right? Victor was here because of necessity, but it was clear he was overmatched by big league pitching and still has a ways to go before he'll be ready for that challenge again. When he comes back up, when Jordan Walker comes back up at some point, you hope they never have to go back, but clearly there's work to be done for them at a lower level where the pressure isn't quite as high as it is here with the St. Louis Cardinals.
Can an over-the-top pitching performance that stops a skid spark an offense?
I think so. I think so. I think, if anything, all of us, I don't want to use the term pleasantly surprised, but I think all of us should be really, really happy with the way, by and large, this pitching staff has performed, Curbs. The bullpen has been unbelievably good. Sonny Gray has been everything that the Cardinals expected him to be. Lance Lynn, in his return with the Cardinals, has kept the ball in the ballpark, by and large, and has been the workhorse and a leader in the clubhouse. Kyle Gibson has been outstanding. His performance his last time out on the road trip in Detroit was a sight to behold. So they're pitching. They're pitching well. They're giving their offense a chance to get back in the game. And, yes, they are throwing up zeros. But, you got to score, and you got to score more than 3 in the major leagues in this era. And right now, getting past 3 has been a real roadblock for the Cardinals. And once they do it a couple of times, I think you'll see them get their sea legs under them and move forward. Remember, and I know fans don't want to hear this, we've played 3 games in the division, and the goals for the Cardinals are much bigger than just winning the division. We've played 3 games against Central Division opponents. Everything else has been outside the division. The real competition, with all respect to the Mets and anyone else, for the division starts on our next road trip with 4 games up in Milwaukee, and hopefully by then we'll see a much different and much more fluid offensive run.
We're talking to Cardinals TV broadcaster Chip Caray. And Chip, looking specifically at the pitching and bullpen now, because you have Matthew Liberatore making that truncated start yesterday, but also Giovanni Gallegos. There's a lot of concerns surrounding him right now. What do you think they're going to do with him moving forward?
Yeah, I don't know. Gio's thrown a lot of games. I mean, I think I saw today it was 182 appearances in the last 3 years. That's a lot, and that's a huge workload for a guy with his stuff. The velocity's down. The results are not where they want them to be. I think he's given up 5 homers in 9 innings pitched this year, and he really needs to be in the 94, 95 range to make that slider combination work for him. It just isn't right now. But getting him back to form somehow, some way, I think is going to be at the top of Dusty Blake's list. But the rest of the pen has been outstanding. Keenan Middleton's probably going to start his throwing program soon and get back hopefully within a month or so, which will be another big arm for the Cardinals. But I think we're all very, very pleased with the way the relief corps has worked. Helsley was pitcher of the month in the bullpen in the National League last month with his great work. So, as I said, pitching's giving him a chance. Defense is giving him a chance. Base running is giving him a chance. We need some big hits, and we need not necessarily home runs, which would be nice, but we need to string together 3 or 4 hits in an inning and put some crooked numbers up on a consistent basis to get going.
And to get that going, I know a lot of focus, Chip, is on Goldschmidt, it's on Arenado, and you have to put the weight on your veteran players in sports. You've got to count on those guys to come through in clutch moments. But
right.
whether it's Donovan or Wynn or even Nootbaar, who I still consider to be a young player, Carlson, there's still going to be some inconsistencies with some of these young hitters. So sometimes finding that consistency can be a heck of a challenge.
I agree, and that's why it can't fall on the shoulders of, as you said, of just 2 guys, right? You spread that around. Everybody doesn't have to be hot at the same time, but you can't go to a game where you have 6 outs. And I think that's really been the challenge that Ollie and his staff have dealt with. There's a lot of swing and miss in this lineup right now because of the frustration, because of the lack of comfort with their swings. And when you're going into a major league game and you're conceding 4 innings of no contact against an opponent, that's a really, really tough way to win. And that's really, unfortunately, what the Cardinals have found themselves an awful lot of the time. So, again, every facet but hitting has been exciting and fun and watch. It's just been exasperating and frustrating because with a clutch hit here or there, we might be talking about the Cardinals being 4 games over 500, not 4 games under. But as Bill Parcells said, you are what your record says you are. And right now we're in last place. We've got to dig out of a big hole to get where we want to be, which is at the top of the division.
You mentioned the 2-strike approach. And if you go back to after that long rain delay, and Herrera's at the plate, and you end up with a called 3rd strike. Now, look, I get it, especially with the boxy. You look and it looks like a ball that's outside. Is part of that 3rd strike approach also protecting that plate a little bit more, even if you know that there's going to, if you know that it's C.B. Buckner behind the plate, and you know that there's a little leeway in that strike zone, part of that mental approach has got to be, if it's close, I'm not sure you want to sit there and take a chance on watching a pitch.
Yeah, too close to take theory. I personally agree with that, but I give hitters so much credit in today's game. They are all so knowledgeable about their strike zone and what the strike zone should be. How many times do you see a hitter look back at an umpire when a guy throws a 96-mile-an-hour 4-seam fastball that's a ball off the plate, and the umpire calls it a strike, and the hitter looks back and says that's not a strike? And they're right. And this is not a criticism of the umpires because I couldn't do that job either. But, yeah, strike zone knowledge is something that every major league hitter prides himself on, and I think the Cardinals do an excellent job at that. Sometimes, though, the first pitch you get might be the best one you see, and I think we're taking a lot of pitches for strikes instead of letting it rip and seeing what happens. So it's a delicate balance, right? Because if you swing at the first one and you make 3 outs on 4 pitches, you get the pitcher off the hook. If you let the count get deep and take strike 3 after 6 or 7 pitches, you're still out. So it's a delicate dance in the cat and mouse game between batter and pitcher that makes our game so frustrating, so exhilarating, and so annoying sometimes, especially when a game's decided on a questionable call like we had the other day.
All right, most important question for you. Are you keeping Mike Claiborne calm during playoff hockey season?
I'm trying to. He scratches his head every now and then, and he stays up way too late from what I understand. So I know he's catching all the games, and I wish the Blues were involved this year, but hopefully better times are coming for the Note here in 2024 and 25.
We'll get there, but it is fun to watch. It's when you gather, and when come playoff hockey time, when you're out on the road with Mike Claiborne's on the road with you, you'll be watching a game somewhere.
Yeah, we got to make it. What we need to do? We need to get Mike to grow his baseball beard. Until the Cardinals win 5 in a row, Mike doesn't shave.
Now, he used to have a mustache.
Yeah.
Years ago, he had a mustache. Oh, yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
Next time you talk to Claves, he had a great mustache.
Really?
But I don't know if I've ever seen a beard on him.
Yeah, we could do that. I'll run it by him. I know what the answer is going to be, but I'll run it by him. There'll be a pronoun involved, too, I'm pretty sure. So we'll see how it works out.
Great talking with you, Chip. Thank you so much.
Okay, Brooke Curbs, great to hear from you guys. Let's get a win tonight.
You got it.
That is great. Chip Caray and the Cardinals will be back in action tonight, hosting the Mets for another 3-game series, and that is going to be at 6:45.
I got good news
hopefully, for you. What is it? Are you going to tell me they're going to win?
No, well, the Cardinals have won 5 series this year. One of the series is against the Mets. See?
There you go.
There you go.
It's that easy. Happy Monday, everybody.
Sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows.
Could you imagine if somebody just tuned in at this moment and didn't hear all the other stuff from the show? That's Curbs. I'm Brooke. Coming up next, we have our Rush Hour Reset, where we're also going to look at the second round of the playoff preview for the NHL. What teams you should be watching for. That's coming up next here on the Opening Drive. Hey everyone, this is Brooke for the Face and the Body Spa and Salon. Mother's Day is quickly approaching. It's coming up on May 12th, guys, by the way. And I have the perfect gift idea for you to win Mother's Day this year. And it's a gift certificate to the Face and the Body Spa and Salon. To me, gift certificates are never a bad idea because then she gets to pick what she wants to do with that money. Maybe one day she wants a massage. Maybe the other day she wants a facial. And with 6 area locations, the Face and Body Spa and Salon is easy to get to one near her. And it really is a one-stop shop for all things self-care. I went by their Brentwood location recently, and I couldn't get over how big the space was and how there was just so many different ways that you could use that gift certificate. With that, as I mentioned, she can get her nails done, hair, a facial, or she can take advantage of their med spa packages like laser hair removal, cool sculpting. They even have a cool sculpting event that is coming up here soon on May 15th. Let her pick from their vast menu of services. Give them a call today at 314-725-8975 or go online to thefaceandbodyspa.com. It's so simple to purchase a gift certificate online at thefaceandbodyspa.com. That is thefaceandbodyspa.com.
biggest stories of the day on the opening drive with the Rush Hour Reset.
Driven by R&R Tires. Visit rnrtires.com to lock in your $20 tires deal.
It'd be the same answer if you asked what's the most frustrating thing about the season, and that is, I think, so many things are looking really good as far as how we want to play the game, the style of the game we want to play, what the pitching's doing, what the bullpen's doing, and the offense is struggling. And that's an area that we honestly felt pretty good about coming into the season. Some guys are adjusting to their second, third year in the league, and it's been tough on them. Other guys got off to a slow start. There's no excuses other than the offense is struggling at the moment. We got to find a way out of it. So the most frustrating part is that the other side of the game is looking really good, but we can't put it together in order to win ball games at the moment.
That is the Cardinals manager, Ollie Marmol. Brooke Grimsley here alongside Chris Kerber. And guys, things aren't good. Ollie Marmol really doesn't seem to have any answers there, and it seems like the offense is searching for answers as well, especially after you lose to the White Sox, one of the worst teams in baseball right now. They had just 6 wins coming into Busch Stadium this weekend, and they were able to take 2 out of 3 against the Cardinals.
Well,
what do you do here in this situation?
I caution with this. I caution with reading too much into managers' press comments, post-game press conferences. And you've been in locker rooms enough and in so many of those situations, Brooke, that you know that they're guarded. They try to answer the questions. They don't give you, sometimes don't give you too much.
I don't know. I got used to Berube just firing it right at you.
Yeah, well, he was a black swan, you know. I mean, he was without a doubt. But I'm asking a question. I'm not saying this is my opinion because I don't know where it sits on this. Like, did they screw up spring training?
Did they screw up
seriously,
spring training?
like if you're John Mozeliak, like right now, if you're the St. Louis Cardinals, you're trying to figure out how to get this thing on track. And Chip Caray just said 1, 2 strike approach. Okay? 2, you just got to get more balls in play. It's not, sometimes, right now, it may not even be about driving in runs when you've got runners in scoring position. It might actually be just getting guys on base to start putting pressure on the other team, to start putting pressure on the other pitchers. But I think you look at 2 things. You look, okay, how do we get out of this? Now you've got the immediate. Then the other is like, was there something that we didn't do? Like, were guys not ready? Were guys not ready? I mean, when you're talking 34 games of this, were enough guys not ready? And you've heard me say it ad nauseum already today. I'll say it again, and Ollie just touched on it. You also got guys in year 2 and 3 in their career and finding it a little bit difficult right now. Because once other teams are so good, once they get a book on you, you've got to adjust as a hitter. And I'm not sure that there's anything harder in all of pro sports than hitting a baseball, right? And to be the hitter is the one that constantly has to make those adjustments. Man, as a young player, that's hard. And that's why the greats that do it early are the greats, and that's why they're the greats. And that's why it takes others time. I'll go back to something, and I've always relied on this when I talk about patience and hitting in baseball. Go look at Ozzie Smith's career, and go look at his basic. You don't have to go deep into numbers. Go look at the basic stats, you know, of strikeouts in his first few years to where strikeouts were at the end, to where his batting average was, and the pride that he took in hitting, and how it was a full career trajectory for him when it came to that. And that's always sat with me when it comes to young players learning to hit, and it takes time. It can be really easy for teams to get a book on young hitters. With all the video and stuff that's available, and coaches that are that smart, and major league pitchers that can hit their spot. It's harder and takes more time for the young hitters to adjust once the pitching starts adjusting.
And here's the thing is that it does come down to approach. And this is where I go back to, and you push back on me on this, but there has to be sometimes a sacrificial lamb in this situation. We've seen it in all of sports where even if it's an assistant coach, you've seen it in the NFL. Even last year, there was assistant coaches who were fired when probably the greater reason was the head coach in that situation. We've seen it in a lot of other sports as well. You have to start somewhere, and then you continue to make moves after that.
Did it make a difference?
in some situations.
Like the example, like I know I can talk to the NHL in terms of the head coaching changes, and I can talk to like the LA Kings were totally going the other way.
It made a difference when Mike Yeo was fired and Craig Berube was brought in.
Right. Okay, but we're talking head coaches here.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and even with the LA Kings, Todd McClellan. Now it got LA in, and then LA had. I don't think LA had much of a chance in the first round of the playoffs. You know, the way things are going for them. What to your point, and I don't know the examples of assistant coaches in the NFL.
And then I was thinking of the Bills, but then they also continue to regress. So there is some truth to that. But at the same time, it all goes back to hitting-wise. If something's not being done, then maybe you have to look at the approach. Now, here's another layer of this, is Paul Goldschmidt is very close with Ward, and that is your hitting coach right now. So what kind of turmoil will that stir up if he gets... But you know, here's the thing.
That's one guy.
It's one guy, and the problem here is that if you talk to the players and if you hear some of their post-game comments, even after this weekend, I would be extremely, extremely fired up. And they're defending Oli Marmol. They're defending the coaching staff. And that's nice and all, but this is not about friendships. This is about results. And right now, the results are not happening for the Cardinals. So if you're the Cardinals in this situation, Kerbs, okay, are you making any sort of move or change now, or are you going to wait till this really snowballs?
No, I'm going to let it go.
You're taking the patience approach?
Look, at some point in time, it's on the players. Okay, do I think that the Blues should have fired Craig Berube? No. I hated that move. And yet they played. Look, you had about a stretch of 100 games from the beginning of the previous season to when they let Craig Berube go and the Blues were under 500. They brought in Drew Bannister and they played 10 games over 500. Was it as simple as the power play? I don't know. Could be. There's probably a little more to it than that. There's other factors that are involved there. Had the Blues decided mid-season to change... Well, here's an example. Okay, they let go of Mike Van Ryn and they brought in Mike Weber. The Blues changed their defensive systems. I don't know that they weren't all that much better off 5-on-5. And I don't think it's because Mike Van Ryn couldn't figure out how to coach. He got the Toronto Maple Leafs into a Game 7 of the playoffs as an assistant coach. And I don't think it's because Mike Weber can't coach. I think he can. I think it's personnel. And the Cardinals are in a situation right now, which is why as much as it causes for angst for people with the extension to Oli Marmol, I think John Mozeliak realizes that I don't know that the manager's getting a fair shake with the personnel. But at some point, it's up to the players. What are the players doing?
They're not executing.
I mean, look, I think if it was so clear that the players are going, this hitting coach is nuts, right? This is no good. The Cardinals will make a move in a blink, and I just don't see that as being the case.
At some point, something needs to change. What do you think?
Yeah, the players.
And how does that change, though, is the thing. If they're not executing on the field, and obviously there's some miscommunication or some message that's not good. It's the same thing, remember, with Craig Berube. What did Doug Armstrong say when he fired him? He said that whatever he was hearing message-wise from Craig Berube, he liked the message, but then when he watched a game, it was not translating on the ice. That might be the same issue that's going on here with the Cardinals in their clubhouse. Maybe the message is great, all the preparation, and they are doing preparation. I hear that all the time. They're doing preparation behind the scenes, but whatever the message is, it's not translating to on the field.
I got time to go off here, Rockio? Yeah.
Rockio's just like
young
whatever.
Young players need experience leading them. And now I don't know where I've got to think long and hard here, okay? But young players need experience leading them. Mm-hmm. Experience can come in different ways. Okay, a Drew Bannister has experience as a head coach, and he has experience bringing young players up. The Cardinals don't have a manager with experience. They don't have a coaching staff deep with experience, and we've seen this. You see this every time. You'll see somebody that can get players to a certain point, and then kaboom. Then they'll typically have to bring in another manager or a coach that takes that to the next level because more structure is needed, right? But they also need, not only do they need experience from a coaching/managerial side, they need experience themselves. And right now, you've got an inexperienced manager going through things really for the first time with immense, intense pressure. Don't think somebody can say definitively whether or not Oli Marmol is a good or bad manager, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay? He hasn't been given the greatest tools to work with, right? But at the same time, you've got inexperience there, and you've got youth, for the most part, throughout a lineup. Why is the pitching better? You brought in experience. Okay? You didn't bring in Lance Lynn to look like Cy Young. You brought in Lance Lynn to say, hey, no, it's about winning. It's about, no, I suck today. It's this and that. You brought in his experience.
You brought in Crawford. You brought back Carpenter.
You brought in Crawford. I mean, you've got some guys. Maybe you turn more to them in the lineup. I don't know. But inexperience doesn't win. It doesn't win in a managerial spot, and it doesn't win in a player spot.
And he signed to an extension. So this is the situation you're put in right now. That doesn't seal the deal, of course, with anything, but the direction that they're going in.
It's still an easy change.
It is.
It's an easy change if you need it. But again, I think people are looking at that extension in the wrong way. I think that's why I go back to segment 1 today at 7 o'clock, and people tuned in then, right? Somebody's texter sent in. They need to go into a rebuild. They're in it. They're in it. And that proves that they're in it.
I think they would rather it be a retool.
If you looked at last year's roster and say that roster drastically underperformed, are you going to sign a manager to an extension that led that group? No, you're not. So I think the fact that they signed it tells you where they think this roster is. And I agree. You are what your record says you are. You'd be better off if the hitting is there, but you're not quite there yet.
And the hitting is bottom in the league in just about every single category.
You need experience.
That's Curbs. I'm Brooke. Coming up next, we're actually going to talk about the second round of the NHL playoffs because we have to pick Curbs' brain about this, especially if there's going to be any changes coming to the Toronto Maple Leafs. That's coming up next here on the Open Drive. Hey, it's Brooke here, and I want to share with you something that I wish I knew about a while ago, and that is Golden Oak Lending. Listen, we've all been there before, maybe even racking up credit card debt and even student loans. I know I've been there, but the people over at Golden Oak Lending, they are there to help. While credit card payments have been at an all-time high and mortgage rates have gone through the roof, there's good news. Mortgage rates have started to come down. Golden Oak Lending has mortgage rates at 5.375% fixed, with customers saving on average $1,114 $10 a month. Golden Oak just makes it so easy. Look, I called in and spoke with Jason, who made the call just really quick and professional. He educated us on our current loan on our house and what to look for in the future. Finance has really just never been my thing. I don't really know it that well, but Jason made sure to educate and guide me to the best solution for my needs. And that's what they do there at Golden Oak Lending. Personalized service that makes you feel heard and really addressing your needs and stress surrounding finances. Call today and take advantage of their 5.375% fixed rate. Here's their number. Are you ready for this? 314-567-GOLD now to get started, or go to goldenoaklending.com and see the reviews for yourself and where to get started. 5.375% APR, FHA, 15-year fix with 20% equity and qualified credit. Additional terms apply. NMLS number 114937. Brady Carricker and Danny Mac with the day off today. And so pinch hitting today, we have voice of the Blues.
Brooke, in hockey, we say off the bench.
Oh, there you go. I have baseball on my mind right now. I know.
Curbs, yeah, you're fired up this morning.
I am. Because
you're fired up this morning. Listen, you got a wedding and stuff to plan. You got more important things.
I mean, I still have this job, and that's pretty important as well. That takes high priority.
That's true. But the blood pressure will come on whether or not the envelopes were lined, or the decorations on the table in June
Curbs,
are exactly where you want. That's where the blood pressure will come.
Curbs, just about every day there's something that, and I don't know. I don't know how to plan things. I don't know how to design things, really. I always need help with that kind of stuff. Have no clue how to put an event together. And so this has been an experience for me where there's things that come up where a wedding planner will bring up, and I'm like, sure, whatever you think. And she's like, no, you need to make a decision. Like, I don't know. I don't know what's going on here.
I was the best man at a friend's wedding. They had a wedding planner, and I didn't like her. So, but that was really not the point. I didn't know her, but she comes walking up to me at the reception and says, I hear you're like an announcer or something. And I said, yes, ma'am. Now, I had arranged for Fredbird to be at the reception, and she didn't like the fact that I sprung something on there like that. Like, it was a total surprise to my buddy and all, right? So I said, she says, I hear you have a mascot coming. I go, he's here. And she goes, where is he? I went, in that room. And she goes, well, he better not. I go, mascot's coming out right now. Get ready. And so she did. So she wasn't happy with me at that point, which I find because I kind of hijacked that moment, but that's okay. Nothing else was planned. Everyone's hanging around. So she comes up to me and she says, I hear you like an announcer or something. I said, yes, ma'am. She says, well, you're going to announce everybody as they walk into the room. And I went, I thought I'm supposed to be one of the people walking into the room. Yeah, right. It's the best man. So she did. Now, Paul Rohde's my buddy. Linda Gessling was his fiance. They're now married. I should have said now the bride and groom, Paul and Linda Rohde, and I didn't have a script. I go, and ladies and gentlemen, the bride and the groom, Paul and Linda Gessling. And so I messed up his last name, called it by her maiden name, all that stuff. I just started laughing and handed the microphone. I didn't do it on purpose, and handed the microphone back to the wedding planner whose jaw was just dropped like, I can't believe you screwed that up.
I might see why there could be some frustration there, Curbs. Maybe just a wee bit.
Are you kidding me? Fredbird was a hit.
After he got in there.
Fredbird was one of the best parts of that reception.
I kind of want that to happen.
If you walk into their house, there's 3 pictures of Fredbird and them at their wedding right in the front of their house.
One of our salespeople who goes by the name on TMA, Well-Dressed Tony, I was at his wedding, and he had Bluey. And obviously,
Louis or Louis?
Louis, sorry, I don't say Bluey. Louis, because he's blue. Sorry, I screwed up.
It's okay.
He had Louis, and yeah, that's it.
I push words together all the time to save time.
It set the reception on fire. I mean, it turned it up a completely different notch.
It does.
Well, now, do I need a mascot at my wedding? Is this what we're saying here right now?
We'll make it happen. Who do you want?
Bluey, like Rocc said.
Bluey?
Bluey.
Bluey's Louie's cousin. We can't find at the North Pole right now.
That means he's cheaper, so that's where I'm going with this, because it's not. It's
a better nickname if we're being honest.
Louis, so then it's a little bit cheaper. Do you see what I'm saying? Like Walmart version of the real thing, a knockoff.
Knockoff mascots don't work.
Tell that to the Philadelphia Flyers.
No, that's not a knockoff mascot. That was a mistake. Well, they claim it was a mistake. I think it was a great story, right? And maybe it was. I'm talking like a knockoff mascot, like somebody dressing as the famous chicken. Oh, okay. Right? That's not the famous chicken. It looks like the famous chicken molted right before it goes to Chick-fil-A.
Curbs.
It's a Monday morning. Keep up.
Stop. Okay, we are going to get back, because I did promise this, that we're going to talk about the second round of the NHL playoffs. So over in the Atlantic Division, we have the Florida Panthers and the Boston Bruins, and that will start tonight at 7. Now, Matthew Tkachuk, I don't know if you heard what he said this weekend, Curbs, but he insinuated that he knew, not even insinuated, he put it out there that he knew that they would be facing the Bruins.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you know what? And Boston went 4-0. Against Florida this year. Now, you got to look at, what did Florida do? Florida went 0-2-2. So 2 of Boston's wins were overtime or shootout wins. I think the 2 series that I'm excited the most about are Boston versus Florida, Colorado versus Dallas. I kind of feel that the winner of those 2 series will be your Stanley Cup final matchup, is what I feel. I think Edmonton and Vancouver, Edmonton went 0-4 against Vancouver, and it's not hard to figure out why. Vancouver became a forechecking team with some speed that could really hem in Edmonton and Vancouver's goaltending. Now, I don't know what's going to happen with Demko. I haven't looked whether or not he's ready to go for the game or not. So, but I don't have a whole lot of faith in Stuart Skinner, so I think goaltending will end up being a wash in that sense if Demko stays injured or can't get back. So, but I just think that the winner of Colorado-Dallas, if they don't bruise each other up to the point of annihilation, ends up coming out of the West. And I feel the same way about Boston and Florida. I just think that, and the Carolina Rangers could be a good series. Carolina has not played very good hockey this playoff so far, so I think they've got another level to go. I just think that the winner of Boston and Florida is going to have such momentum that they're going to be tough to beat after that. And then, I like for Dallas, like if Dallas can get through to the Stanley Cup final, it could be one of the toughest runs. I thought the Blues had one of the toughest runs in the history of the game. I think Dallas is going to equal that if they can get there.
So outside of the Panthers and Bruins, is there some other game that you're most interested in out of all the games?
Well, I mean, obviously the whole series of Colorado versus Dallas, that one could just be a juggernaut of a series. I think that one has, I think, the opportunity to be the best of the four series, the best of the four series there. Edmonton, Vancouver, kind of like, yeah, okay. We'll watch it. We'll see what goes. I don't have a whole lot of thrill in that one. There's not a lot of spark as well with Carolina and Rangers. Other than that, could just be some good hard-nosed hockey. But when you talk about some star power, the history, you've got two Central Division teams, and then Boston, losing to Florida last year. Those good. Those are two must-watch 7-game series. Like if you're gonna sit there and say, "Hey, Curbs, I don't have time to sit down and watch every game," and then after I ask you why don't you make time, like that's just an excuse. But if you said because we're planning Girl Scout cookie sales for later in the year, whatever it is, I'd be like, okay, then make time for Colorado, Dallas, and Boston, Florida.
I agree with you. Now, the Leafs, I think, one last little point here. The Leafs are going to be an interesting situation. What all is going to happen now moving forward with them?
The Toronto Maple Leafs are going to change their head coach. I'll be shocked if they don't. That, I believe, is going to start the coaching carousel that has finally happened. I mean, you're talking now, that would be, if they move Sheldon Keefe out, that's going to be the 11th head coach since the beginning of last season. That's been changed, and I think it moves it up to like 17 or 18 since the end of the previous season. All right, so it's going to start with the head coach. And then the Toronto Maple Leafs are going to have to decide if they're going to become a team. I think whether it's William Nylander or Mitch Marner, one of those two needs to be dealt out of Toronto. I think you got to go find a trade partner. I think where Toronto and Edmonton mirror each other so much. Toronto and Edmonton have stayed so forward heavy in their transition processes from anonymity back to being a perennial playoff team that neither one of them is a full enough team. And I don't know that McDavid and Draisaitl are enough to carry the Oilers all the way through. I just don't believe that either one, the Oilers or the Toronto Maple Leafs, are enough well-rounded, deep enough team. I don't look at the Oilers and the Maple Leafs, for example, and see the Trent Frederick of the group. Such a huge key. Trent Frederick was huge in that series for Boston, right? I just think that somehow if Toronto's going to get over the top, it's going to start with a coaching change because they're just going to need it. And then secondly, I think they've got a well-rounded team. And look, if there's anything that general managers should be looking at with the salary cap going up, be careful. If you make yourselves, and everybody knew this, you make yourselves too top-heavy, that you can't be deep enough with your other players. And don't forget, in 2019, when the Blues won the Cup, they had a $5 million center in Bozak and a $5 million fourth-line winger in Alexander Steen. Right? That doesn't happen if you have the salary structure that the Oilers have and that Toronto has. You've got to be careful there. And so I do think that it's not just a coaching change. I just think that somehow, whether it's Nylander or Marner, one of those two guys has to become expendable to help you round out your team, both from a cap aspect of balance and then from maybe finding a defenseman at some player aspects.
That's Curbs. I'm Brooke. Coming up next, we're going to take a look at not only the Cardinals are struggling to find some offense, what's going on with City SC. We'll discuss that coming up next here on The Opening Drive. Hey everyone, it's Brooke here, and this year we decided it was time to make a major upgrade to our home by updating our bathroom. We have this house in U City and we absolutely love it, but we never exactly loved our main bathroom. So we decided it was time for a change, and we reached out to one of our great sponsors here of 101 ESPN, and that is EMB Granite. Curbs, I know that you work with ESPN, with EMB Granite as well, and they've done a really good job with some of your remodeling.
They did the countertop behind my bar.
They did?
They did, yeah.
And did you like it?
And I've sent about 5 other people to them that have done an amazing job for them, both cost-wise and work-wise.
And that's the biggest thing, too, is that I was actually surprised, too, with the deal that they gave us for our bathroom. And it looks absolutely amazing. We just moved back into our home after doing those renovations in our house, and it looks fantastic. Jen was the one who really came up with the vision of how to transform our bathroom. And she also had so many great ideas with us that fit within our budget. And that's what they've been doing there at EMB Granite for over 20 years. They've been turning visions into realities. So schedule your free consultation by calling 314-645-9300 or go online to embgranite.com or stop by their amazing showroom today and make sure you mention that I sent you.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Cardinals back in action today, looking for a W after they dropped 2 of 3 to the White Sox. They will start a 3-game series against the Mets. 6:45 first pitch tonight. It'll be the lefty Sean Manaea facing off against the righty for the Cardinals, Kyle Gibson. Over the weekend, we had some playoff series start and finish in both the NBA and the NHL. In the NBA, the Mavericks beat the Clippers 4-2 in their series. The Cavaliers finish off the Magic in Game 7, and the Timberwolves open up round 2 of the West semis with a Game 1 win over the Nuggets, 106-99. And in the NHL over the weekend, the Canucks, the Stars, and the Bruins all won their series. Stars and Bruins winning in Game 7, and the Rangers opened up round 2 with a 4-3 win over the Hurricanes last night. That is your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
0-0 scoreline doesn't sound too entertaining, but I thought this was an entertaining 0-0 draw. To make a game of it here at Houston, where it's always difficult to play. And I thought we had momentum. I thought we had, chances or moments to change the complexion of the game, and I thought we did that. Again, we'll take the points, and like you said, 3 out of 4. We just want to start learning how to get them over the line and win games, because I think we can be a real lethal team once that starts kicking.
That was City SC head coach Bradley Carnell after their 0-0 draw against the Houston Dynamo this past weekend. Look, I'm going to give you some bunnies and roses. That's our new saying. Instead of sunshine and lollipops, we say bunnies and roses. Because somebody texted that in.
I saw a dog go after a bunny the other day, and the dog won.
Was it my dog, Stevie?
Did I just change the name of the segment?
No. Stevie is obsessed with bunnies in our backyard, and it's that time of year.
Playing with them or eating them?
There was one time when she was a puppy where she was able to get a hold of one, and that was very disturbing to see in the backyard. And kind of changing my perception of her a little bit.
Keep the foot, put it in your pocket, now you got a lucky rabbit foot.
No. Well, you know who could use that lucky rabbit foot would be City SC. Because, look, here's some positives I will throw at you, okay, in this 0-0 draw. So City SC has pushed its unbeaten streak to 4 consecutive matches. Roman Berkey recorded his 4th clean sheet of the season. He also recorded a season-high 10 saves. But notice that I'm not talking about anything with City SC's offense. One of them was unreal. Which it was. And I want to give him all the credit in the world. But where is City SC's offense currently right now?
Gee, that seems to be a theme.
I don't like that theme.
Listen, I think one thing is abundantly clear from the second half of last season until now, and that is that City desperately needs a healthy Edward Leuven. It will be a huge difference maker to Klauss to get better services into the middle of the field to where he can use that size, use that head of his, that kind of thing. I think they're desperately missing that aspect on a regular basis. And last year they started at 9-4-1. They had that great start. The rest of the way, they were 7-9-4. And if you take this year's already record of 2-1-7, you're talking about City going 9, 10, and 11 in their last 30 matches. So they've only won 9 of their last 30 regular season matches. That's only 4 games shy of a full MLS season, right? In other words, they're looking a lot like an expansion team in what is essentially their last 30 games. They're finding ways to stay in it. They're picking up points. That's what you take out. That's your bunnies and no dog chasing them roses thing. Okay? All right.
Stevie's
By the way, I found out yesterday. Apparently, bunnies have real like if it, like a bunny rabbit actually has a soft heart. So the bunny rabbits can have heart attacks if they get too worked up. So like all of a sudden, if the dog's going after it and the bunny, boom, seizure, cardiac arrest, dead bunny. All right, but back to the soccer pitch.
Thank you for that information.
Learn that.
Somehow made it even more disturbing with like the dog. I don't know if one is better than the other. I would say probably a heart attack before the mauling.
That rabbit's playing dead. No, that rabbit is dead. I actually wonder this. You know, when City came on yesterday and they played what was going to be a very difficult, challenging style, where their backside pressure, to use the hockey vernacular, their pressure coming back on the ball created all those turnovers. How many times do we see a defender or a goalie pass it right to one of our forwards last season, strikers or whatever term we want to use? The reality of it is there was a lot of questions whether or not they could keep that up. And they sputtered in the second half when injuries kicked in a little bit. We haven't seen that same style even close yet this season through 10 games. Haven't even come close. So I don't think it helped having Parker out for a couple of games. That's a huge piece there. And as strong as his defending is, he's a massive piece on set pieces and corner kicks, you know, on the other end of the field. So kind of, I guess, much like they're hanging in till they figure out how to get the offense.
I think the big part,
you gotta like the excitement of what Pompeo brings to the table.
Of course, you had to give him a lot of credit, but I think to your point that Leuven is a big part of this. Has there been any updates, Rocc, on if he's returning soon
He's
or
working on the
anything like
side.
that?
He's working on the side.
How long will it take him fitness-wise, you think, to be back?
Hamstring injuries with soccer players are nebulous. Let's just say that. You never know. It's they say 4 to 6 weeks, but and here's the thing with him. His rehab was interrupted. We know that for a fact. We don't know exactly why, other than the fact that it's a personal issue that he wants to keep secret. Completely his prerogative. Nothing wrong with that. But because of that, his rehab has been disrupted. And so I have no idea where he's at in that rehab. The 4 to 6 week timeline obviously completely out the window and now it's just kind of as we get updates. He was running on the side this past week, I want to say, with Josh Yaro, who was also working back from an injury. So, it's going to take time he's probably going to have to do a week or two of training with the actual team during the actual training. And then I think we're going to see what we usually see, which is a 25-minute appearance off the bench, a 45-minute appearance off the bench, maybe a start with 60 minutes where he goes out early, and then maybe finally a 90-minute game. So I'm thinking probably at the earliest a 90-minute Edward Leuven game. I think mid-June, early June is probably the earliest we see a full 90 minutes from Edward Leuven.
If you're lucky. And what you need in the meantime is Klauss is going to have to start stepping up. Klauss is going to have to start putting the ball in the net. Klauss is going to have to change his body language up. Klauss is going to have to he's got to bring more to the table. All right? If you watch that game the other night, those guys were not coming back hard enough to help out defensively in times, and at time that just stalled the game. That's not the style of play that has been put in place by Bradley Carnell and what City found to be successful. Right? Remember, last season, City was not a possession team. And they're not a possession team now. They were winning games when they were having 45%, 40%, sometimes 35% of the possession. That's not how they're built. They're built, and they're still built this way because it didn't change much from last year to this year. They're still built on pressuring the ball, creating turnovers, and being that transition game. And if you are not coming back hard enough to put the pressure on when the other team is starting to move in on your defense in that middle third, if you're not pressuring enough in that middle third for City, then you're going to have a lot more 0-0, 1-1 kind of games. They've got to pressure to create the offense. That's how you make up without having a guy like Leuven in the lineup right now. And to me, fair or unfair, I'm putting a lot on Klauss. I expect he showed us last year what he could do. I think it's fair to expect more from him, and I think there's another level from here for him to bring to the table.
His finishing numbers aren't what you want to see, but I mean, every other number you look at for him is pretty much what it was last year. I mean, it's not last year. A lot of his numbers are in like the 92, 93, 90 percentile for forwards in the MLS. This year, he's in like the 85th, 88th, 84th. So he's not at the exact level he was last year. But I don't think it's been that big of a drop off with him.
You need him more now, though.
I think you need him more now. I think last year they were a team that played better than their underlying numbers said. They scored more goals than they said they should have, and they let up less goals than they said they should have. So maybe this is a little bit of a regression towards the mean and a team that didn't necessarily add too many players. The players they have have made this team undoubtedly better, and young players are developing. So I think those are good things to look at. I just think that right now things have kind of evened out. And I think I haven't looked at their XG table lately, but I think their goals is a little bit below what they should have, and their goals against is a little bit higher than it should be. So they're kind of playing opposite they were last year. I think this past game was a weird game against Houston, which is Houston sits back so much that it's hard to press them consistently the way you like to from the top. And that's my thing with Klauss. I will agree he probably jogs a little bit too much. At the same time, he is a striker who consistently makes high-intensity sprints from the 18-yard box back to his half to press a guy, and then he will walk all the way back to the 18-yard box.
The first part isn't happening. Yeah, but the first part isn't happening not the same way it did last year.
Really? You don't think so?
No. And it's not. But it's not just him. I think it's a team thing that you're seeing some of that pressure.
Yes, because
it's all of it. But here's when you notice it, Rocky. You notice it when he's doing it. And the reason I said, look, this is a guy that I say claim is my favorite City player still. Okay? All right? This is a guy that when he does that, you notice it. So when it's not happening the same way, it's jumping out at you. That's my scenario there.
I also think you have to look at the fact that in the last couple games, the two guys that have been off the bench and haven't gotten the starts have been AZ Jackson hasn't started, and Alm's been coming up slowly, and those are two of the best pressers on the team. And so I think there's also an aspect of maybe not having AZ in the lineup that factors in too.
All right, that's Rocc and Curbs. Coming up next, we have Rocc and Roll. That's ahead here on the opening drive. Hey everyone, it's Brooke here for Universal Windows Direct. Spring is here and it's only going to get hotter from here. Do not cool off the outside this year. Call my guys over at Universal Windows Direct. While we're all excited for it to get warmer outside, I know you're probably not too excited for that upcoming energy bill that comes with keeping the warm air outside. That's where Universal Windows comes in here. Their windows features super spacer technology, which helps keep the edge of the glass warmer, holds the window seal longer, and makes your windows last up to 5 times longer than other Windows systems. So your windows from Universal perform better and they last longer. Schedule your free in-home estimate today, and for every 2 windows you buy, get the next 2 for free, plus 0% financing for 60 months. Universal Windows Direct backs it all up with a true 20-year warranty. Mention my name and get an additional $250 off your next project. Go to uwd.com. That's uwd.com. Like me, you'll be saying, I love my windows.
I want to rock! And roll.
Welcome back to the opening drive, and it is time for Rock and Roll. Rockio, what do you got?
Well, I'm gonna throw this one to Curbs because he threw out something in our text line at 6:08 this morning.
Oh no!
And I had
you
to
have
get
1
to
minute,
it because
Curbs.
this is wild. And he says, "Have you ever been more ready for a superstar / all-time great to retire than LeBron James right now?"
Yep.
My answer to that is no, because I'm not ready for LeBron to retire. My answer to that is no, because man, I couldn't wait till Barry Bonds got out of the game.
Oh, okay. That one might be the one I couldn't think. That's a good one. That's a good one. I find it fascinating. I think that more your average sportsman say, okay, I'm done with LeBron.
I think you're tapping
I think they're
into
done
something.
with LeBron.
Yes, I think you're tapping into something that's correct. I disagree with you, but I think there's a lot of people, especially casual basketball fans, who are a little bit.
I don't think people ever said, I'm done with Jordan, I'm done with Kobe, I'm done with Shaquille, I'm done with Kareem. I get a sense that people are kind of saying, all right, we're done with LeBron.
Yeah, but my daddy says you don't play any defense.
What's that?
Airplane.
You don't remember
My dad says you don't play any defense and you're only trying to play off. Listen here, kid.
Yeah.
So you're tired of LeBron, is what you're saying.
Tired of the stuff that seems to be around LeBron. It doesn't seem to be just about basketball anymore.
I think that here's the thing.
Which by the way, may not be LeBron's fault. But either way, trust me, I think more people are saying done with LeBron.
Physically, the fact that he's performing the way that he is at his age, I think says a lot.
Spectacular.
But to your point, I think that I have an issue more with the fact that he shouldn't be the one really leading and building this team. He shouldn't be acting as the coach. Who is leading the Lakers currently? Like, if you're saying who is really in charge here?
I have no idea.
It's LeBron.
I'm a playoff NBA guy.
Same.
Yeah, you're right. It's LeBron.
It is. Thank you. It is LeBron. So I think it's that the part. It's just that it should be just more focused on him playing rather than him taking over a GM coaching role, because it just hasn't worked out.
Guys, we have 2 more years of watching a guy who is inarguably a top 2 player of all time to play his sport.
Won't matter to me if he retired this year.
Take it in. The guy's he's going to have games where he goes 26, 14, and 10. Watch the majesty, because you think I've seen it enough. It's not going to get sick.
He's a different great.
Hold on a second.
So different.
I know that, but as somebody who was blessed to watch Albert Pujols, the feeling when it was gone was apparent, and the feeling when you got to watch 700 through 703 was magic. Appreciate the magic a little bit longer. That's all I'm saying.
That's fair. I just think the majority of people like it's very rare to have a superstar. A true superstar, where people you might be like, okay, I'm done. And you're right. Now I don't think he's villainous like Barry Bonds.
Remember every moment, guys.
But it's close.
Yeah,
I think
you're not wrong.
I think also the Bronny stuff bothers me a little bit, because then he's getting mad at people for putting pressure on Bronny when he himself said that he wants to be able to play with Bronny. And it's like, you're the one who's putting all that pressure out there.
Yeah, I don't believe in the sins of the father following the son. So I think that should be totally off limits in a lot of ways, but it is what it is. And it's the same thing's going to follow Charlie Woods and all that stuff around too, which is grossly unfair. But I'm telling you, I just think that a lot of people will be like, yeah, okay, it's done.
Curbs, it's been a pleasure having you on.
Thanks for letting me sit in, guys.
There we go.
Show. We're done.
We are. Well, it is 9:59. Look, the clock has been something today, but Curbs, I always enjoy talking to you.
Yoo-hoo.
Oh, no. Curbs, it's always a pleasure having you in studio.
Thanks,
Thank you so much for coming in today. Rockio, great show today.
Great show, Brooke.
I tried. Curbs, we had a lot of fun today. We'll have to bring you back in here soon.
We did. I'm happy to do it.
All right, that is the opening drive. Coming up next, we have the balloon party with Tim McKernan and Action Jackson. That's coming up next here on 101 ESPN.
That's right.